I just burped right before we went live. Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Lisa's Lair. It's me, your wonderful host, Lisa Wallen, aka Weasel Allen. And today we have an awesome show. But before I get into that, I must thank our wonderful sponsors, Elysian Space Dust IPA, the IPA for gamers, and the IPA of the Northwest. Because everywhere I go, I see space dust everywhere. It haunts my dreams, and I love it. If this is your first time on the show, which is probably not, but I'm explaining anyways, this is basically me hanging out with my friends for 2 hours on the EG Twitch channel, and they've still allowed me to do that, and that's really cool of them. So I don't get a chance to hang out with other people anyways. So this is the time I get to see all my wonderful friends in this industry and this community. And now that I've done all the cool intro stuff, I'm going to bring out our awesome guest today. He is one of my favorite cat dads in the entire world, and he's the managing editor at GameSpot. Oh my gosh, let's bring out Tamoorh. Yay!
It's me. In the order of intros there, I put in terms of prestige, I put Cat Dad much higher than managing editor of GameSpot. Anyone can be the managing editor of GameSpot. The only few among us can be cat dads.
Especially
Truly.
human male cat dad.
Yeah. So people, yeah, the production team was like, "So what would you like your title to be?" And I was like, I started with I think loser, and then I was like human male. And I think I was like, well, my actual title is too long to put in there, and it's also very boring.
You're not
But
a loser, though. You're too cool to
uh,
be a loser.
I would disagree, but
I
who
think we're on the
knows?
same boat of losing. That's why we're
That's
just
fine.
both a
Yeah.
bunch of nerdy weebs with purple lighting. That's pretty much it. But yeah, I'm really glad you got to join my show today. We've been internet friends for a little bit, I think. I don't
Mhm.
even know how we became friends.
I have no idea either. I was thinking about this earlier, and I was like, how did this happen? I think I just randomly followed you on Twitter one time because as this was pre-pandemic when we'll talk about this later, I assume at some point when I think like one of your stand-up sets or a clip from it was circulating. Um,
Probably.
and I saw it and I was like, ah, she's funny. I'm gonna follow
Was
her.
it the anime one?
Probably, yeah. It might have been it
Oh.
might have been one of those. And then yeah, and then you followed me back and then since then we've just been chatting and
Oh yeah, that's probably that makes
streaming.
sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I definitely was like it's very funny because as far as like stand-up comedy goes, like in Seattle, it's hard to like make a name. Seattle's just terrible for stand-up comedy because it's not LA or New York or any awesome place where people leave the house. Like we're all flannel indoors, rainy people, so nobody ever goes to comedy shows.
Mm.
And it's so funny because I've been doing stand-up for like 8 years and I thought that was like what I wanted to do until I started like streaming and stuff and I was like, "Oh wow, I could just be funny and do things that I love like not leaving the house." So, it's really good times.
Yeah. I mean like I as someone who's been in San Francisco for not that long, it seems like it's got a pretty good stand-up comedy community. I only know this because one of my friends who works at Kind of Funny, Nick Scarpino, he's a stand-up comedian and he's always seems to be going to shows or doing shows here. So I feel like it's pretty healthy. I should go to I live fairly close to a like one of those basement styles like improv shows, but I'm like I don't know if I want to commit an evening to improv where someone's just like practicing their sets. And there was a time when I also thought about doing stand-up comedy and I was like I did and I every now and then I'm like maybe I should try and put together like a 3 minute set or like something like that to kind of take a crack at it and see what it's like. But I don't know. I feel like that's one of the things that is like you have to be very brave to go up and do that. Like I can tell jokes, bad jokes in front of a
You don't
few
need
friends, but in front of a bunch of like randoms, I don't know about that.
I wouldn't say it's bravery. I think it's just a sense of having zero shame.
Hmm.
I
I definitely have
wouldn't
zero shame. So
Yeah, so once you get past the part where you're like, I also have zero shame in public, then there you go. Yeah, it's not a lot of
yeah.
bravery. It's just it's a lot of selfishness, really. It's like, wow, I am so funny that everyone needs to shut up and just listen to me and nobody else. Like that's what it is.
Yeah. I have written down some like not routines, but like some jokes that I've written them down and I've thought they're very funny and then I've read them and I'm like,
Can you read them
This
right now?
this is gonna get me cancelled.
Can we hear it? Can we hear
No,
one of
no,
them?
absolutely not. Absolutely not. Especially on a stream where it could, potentially advertisers are like watching, listening. I cannot be saying some of that stuff. Um,
Wow, now I'm just like,
but
you're just like one of the dark, edgy guys that gets on stage. You're like, if you're into, I'm sorry if this offends you, but you're like
yeah,
the, I'm
I don't
just
think I'd do
kidding.
that. I don't think I'd do that. I think it'd be like it's one of those spicy ones. Not spicy, but like it's an observation that you don't wanna. It's an observational comedy thing where you have to like test it amongst close friends before you like go out there and say it in public. People who like will be like, maybe you shouldn't say that one because like it's funny, but there's nothing offensive about it. It's just like
Oh my God,
it's just a
Seattle.
bit racy, if you know what I mean.
Not to shit on Seattle, but people will get offended if you talk about your own trauma on stage. Like
Oh.
that, like I live in the like I hate to bring this up on stream, but I made a joke. I don't know if you see my Twitch streaming joke that I have.
Hmm.
I was like, it was either this or I kill myself. Like that was a joke, and everyone like was like, oh. I was like, come on, Seattle, this is what you're known for. Like you can laugh about that. And like it's just funny where they draw the line because yeah, there are jokes that it's like I've used to go to open mics all the time. In fact, there's a bar right near where I live where I was my first open mic ever, and it was a really bad place for a while because it's like you would have people who are like, working comedians, they want to go do jokes, and then you just have random drunk dudes off the side of the street. They're just like, oh, I want to do comedy, and they go on stage like, yeah, I fucking hate women. Everyone's like, right? And I'm like, this is really
Oh.
nice. Anyways, your next comedian is a woman. Or it's like they would always the way that like the male like host would bring you on stage is that most of them they'd be like, oh, this person's like really funny comedian, let's bring him up. They'd be like, she's a great female comedian. I'm like, oh, okay, like I can't just be a comedian. Like we just have to establish that I'm also human female.
Yeah, it's kind of like comedy feels like one of those kind of areas of creative, I don't know, like expression that still is kind of stuck in the past. And also I feel like there's aren't the kind of like the most well-known comedians are currently at a stage where they are, they're getting the lowest hanging fruit, and a lot of the stuff that gets them a lot of attention is that kind of mentality. Like for me, I I
This performer has
it's
a uterus. Sorry, I was looking at the comment.
I feel like devastated to say it's like I loved Dave Chappelle for so long. Like Dave
We
Chappelle
all
defined,
did,
yeah, Dave
right? Yeah.
Chappelle defined a lot of my humor in many ways, and now like it's sad to see him on stage doing the most not funny, shitty old man routines about like women or trans people. And it's just like, you were a genius, man. You
You know
made
why? It's because
you,
he's
you
been rich since the 90s.
yeah, I think like that's the biggest problem that like I think a lot of people in certain creative avenues have is they run out of life perspectives and they
Yep.
run out of interesting things. Like sadly, my other main kind of like inspiration for a lot of the things I love was Kanye West, and he is a
Yeah.
nightmare dumpster fire right now. And like the moment he stopped being interesting, or you can tell the exact moment where his music just started to plateau was when he made it. Because Kanye West's whole thing was like he struggled for
Yeah.
acceptance and he struggled to find his way through. And then at a certain point, like he got there and he just became completely unrelatable. He had nothing interesting to say. His perspective was completely skewed, but he still tried to play that mentality, and he would be like, they don't trust me in Balenciaga. And it's like, who the
Balenciaga.
fuck cares about, like, it's like, homie, like you came up trying to convince people that wearing pink polo necks was okay. Now, and people would be like, you know what, I can get behind that. And now you're trying to convince people that you're putting in the same struggle, trying to get attention at Balenciaga or like Adidas or whatever. Like,
I always
that's
thought
not
he was.
relatable.
I always thought he was a little like. I never liked him. But he
Hmm.
wasn't as bad until now. Like, like the whole like Taylor Swift shit from years ago, like stuff
Yeah.
like that. It's like, but that was just because he was just a cocky dude. But yeah, it's like with comedy, it's like it's funny, you'll go watch like famous comedians. Like Chris Rock got heat for going on stage and talking about being poor and not having money. I'm like, sir, you've had money since the 80s. Do you know what it's like to be broke? Like, yeah, they can't relate. And so there's two ways they go. They go a route where it's like they're just the type of person who just has really good insight on things. And like they're
Yeah.
like the observational style comedy, or it's low hanging fruit and shock value. It's like I have to get a reaction out of everything they say. And it's not just like the big comedians. Like I've said this on my stream before, like it's really interesting doing comedy shows now than before the pandemic. Or even when I first started. I first started in 2014, before TikTok and shit, And so if you wanted to get a gig, you would just, record your video and send it to somebody and they put you on. And now getting out, it's like everyone's material has changed to where it's like, I can make this a TikTok clip. So I need to write a joke
Hmm.
that's less than a minute. And it's like, I'll go to shows and I'll see people writing jokes just to put on TikTok. I do the same thing. I'm totally guilty of it.
Yeah.
But like so many of the jokes that I have like brushed away are like 5 to 10 minute long or 5 to 6 minute long jokes because I'm like, well, I can't really like clip and put this because the attention span of the internet is like 30 seconds. So it's like
Yeah.
comedy is constantly changing. And one of the big things right now that's big on TikTok that I hate is like crowd
Crowd
reaction
work.
video,
Yeah.
crowd
Crowd
work
work.
video. I hate all of them. I don't
Yeah.
care about crowd work, but people do that because they want reactions. Everything is about reacting to things,
Yeah. The
These
idea of
youngins.
yeah, the idea of like setting up a punchline and then building to it and then delivering it is completely gone now, especially in and like it's funny because I do see some comedians that I know their main set is that, but the stuff that they use to promote them, the stuff that goes viral, and the stuff that is kind of like marketed to them is pure crowd work. And the crowd work is not even funny. It's just like a man sitting next to a woman, and they're like, "So you two dating?" No, and then they just be like, "Oh,
They
what's
just say it
going
like
on
a funny,
here?"
right?
Whoa. It's like, well, that's not funny.
That's a different low hanging fruit.
Yeah, I think like returning to someone like Chappelle, like I or like other people in that ilk. I think the sad thing about someone like Chappelle is there was a period where he came up as a comedian, right? And his whole thing was I'm going to tell jokes and based on observation. And he like excelled at that. And then there was a brief period where he was a comedian in name, but his avenue, the things that he brought was commentary, social commentary.
Yeah.
Like one of the most powerful things he did was post George Floyd, where he did that like short set, which is effectively a comedy set or billed as a comedy set, but it wasn't. There was nothing funny about it. It was a man talking about the world through his perspective, and people who were there for laughs, they got a couple of laughs out of it, but they left really thinking about the state of the world. And it was built entirely around the kind of the time that the officer was kind of like had his
Yeah.
was suffocating George Floyd, and like it was that was like one of the most, that was that moment where I realized I said like this is one of the greatest comedians and social commentators of all time. And then from there it just turned like it tanked so hard where I don't know what it was, but like it felt like he was done. Like, and his perspectives are, he stopped punching up and started punching down.
Yeah.
And like I feel like that's the biggest mistake in comedy. When you start punching down at people, you really like you're no longer funny and you're no longer relatable.
Yeah.
And I think like for me, I find comedians most engaging when I feel like they're on my level. Like that's why I don't find Chris Rock funny anymore when he says, "Man, I was broke." And it's like, "No, you haven't been broke
You
since the
haven't
80s.
broken
You're
30 years.
lying."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, with Dave Chappelle too, it's a thing where it's like his whole comedy was built on being marginalized too.
Hmm.
And now he's having this idea that the people who are marginalized have more power so he can shit on them. Like that's not true at all because
No.
you live in a bubble of money. Like you also live in like a rural town on like a multi-million dollar property. Like you
Hmm.
don't see what the world is like through other people's eyes. That's why I
Yeah.
hope I never get famous. I'm doing
Yeah.
really great at doing that right now. I'm just
I mean, like I think it's like comedians are like they need something to keep them grounded, and like I feel like there's a level of comedy success which you kind of want to float in, where like if you go above, you have to just be very cognizant of the fact that you are day by day with each successful kind of gig or each step forward towards success, you are becoming untethered from the things that give you perspective. And I don't know very many comedians that have reached that level of fame that are still able to come back and bring that perspective and feel like the audience can still relate to them. Like I can't think of a single one. Like I feel like the funniest comedians now, they are funny, they reach like a mid-tier success and then they kind of scale it back. And like one of my favorites is a Scottish comedian named Lemmy, who he had like BBC shows, he did his own sketch show, and now he's a full-time Twitch streamer. And he's got a lot of like parallels to you in a lot of
Mhm.
ways. And he now lives off his personality, and he does occasionally do jokes and stuff, but that feels like the sweet spot. It's just it feels like you when you're too successful as a comedian now, you're just basically launching yourself into
Oh yeah.
irrelevance.
I used to love Patton Oswalt. I still really do, but like I could barely even watch his new special because it's like once you
Mm,
get that point where it's like I also don't relate to you on a personal level anymore. Like
yeah.
I really loved his special where he talks about his wife passing. Like that special meant a lot to me, but besides that, it's like, yeah, you live in a whole different universe than I do. And I
Mm,
think that's the reason why people are trying to make crowd work like this huge thing on TikTok is because they know, hey, like I want to sell my personality. Like I
yeah.
know that this is what, but it's like that's not that's you talking to people. Like that's not your personality. Like I want to see what you are like as a person. I can't stand them. I have a bunch of friends that like they make really good passive income posting clips of that stuff, but I'm like I barely have energy to post any stand up, better yet, Twitch stuff. Like, I'm just going to keep staying unfamous. It's working out great, you know? I have endless material struggling all the time. But now I'm curious to hear your stand up, possible stand up jokes. We can talk about off stream. I do have a few friends that had lived in San Francisco and for the comedy scene. I have a couple friends that I've done shows with recently that did comedy in San Francisco, and I want to go down there and check it out because I went to San Diego for, well, a few times this year, but during San Diego Comic-Con, I did stand up down there and it was amazing. I was like, everyone here is too hot, though. Like, I just couldn't stand that
Yeah.
everyone was just like a 10. And I was like, well, this audience is too pretty and I don't want to tell them jokes. But I had like a couple dudes after my show walk up and they're like, oh my God, you're so funny and so pretty. Can we like buy you a drink? And they like bought me White Claws. And then they like added me on Instagram. I was like, oh, these guys are ex Bachelorette rejects. I was like, this is the most San Diego experience ever. If I go
Yeah.
to San Francisco, it's just gonna be techie bros with a little bit more money. That's pretty much what it's
I'd be
gonna be.
surprised. You'd be surprised. There's like I don't see very many. I mean, like I do see a lot of techie bros, but in the spots where like I see like comedy clubs and stuff, it feels like there's a good enough. It's like obviously not LA, but like it feels like there's a good community of people who are into comedy specifically,
Oh, it's
and they like understand that there's a kind of a social contract between you and the comedian, and it's enforced a bit better here. But then maybe they're a little more like also very snobby about comedy as a
no,
result.
I heard it's great because like LA to me is stressful because it's like you're constantly fighting for your spot and there's no money. And I feel like it's like, you know, now that I stream on Twitch, I was like, I'd rather stay at home and not make money than like
Yeah, yeah.
not make money. And I get to
Have you
play a video
ha,
game.
have you ever considered like just recording shorts, almost like curated shorts that are like a not a a moment from a Twitch stream, but like something in between crowd work and like a Twitch stream where you like write a joke and just deliver it to camera and then put that up as a
Oh, I do
TikTok
that
or
all the
something like.
time.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah.
But I just don't post them. I think that's where my issue runs. Is like
Yeah,
I'm
I was
like
gonna say
I
because yeah, I don't
just
see much of that, so maybe that's something that is worth like exploring. Because
now yeah.
yeah, I hate the crowd work stuff, but I also understand that a lot of comedians like they like the comfort of being at home and like or like having a controlled environment. So maybe there's like a middle ground where you can almost deliver a two camera or two crowd joke that's it kind of like in your place, in your own home, you know?
When I eventually get another computer, I really want to move this one to my living room and do a cooking for comedian stream and have them come over. I'd have like
Oh,
5 comedian friends over. I'd cook them dinner and then they all have to do a set.
that
And I would
sounds
and I
amazing.
would stream it. And I really want to do that, but I really need to get another setup because this one is just this one's getting a little old, but it's still pushing through.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Yeah, it's I'm kind of in a sweet spot right now because it's like a lot of comedians during the pandemic just didn't do anything else. They were like,
Mm,
I'm just gonna wait for shows to come back. I'm like, you should at least have like a podcast or maybe write some blogs or something. You should do something. Keep those creative juices flowing. Like you may think just you can just go back on stage, but I took a year and a half off from comedy and it was awful. And that was back in
mm,
like 2018. When I got back, I was like, wow, I like have to start over again. And like so streaming was my thing. And I also had my podcast at the time too. But so many comedians I know didn't do that. And then they didn't realize obviously the pandemic was gonna last for 2 years. And now it's like too competitive. And I'm
mm.
not very competitive. I'm like, I'll just get booked whenever somebody puts me on something. Like I've been doing it for so long where I'm okay with going like a month or two, but now it's gotten to the point where it's like there's like that whole grind set as a content creator. It's like the minute I started posting TikToks and Reels, it's like I need to keep posting stuff. I haven't posted anything in a
Yeah.
month. And so
Yeah.
they're like, you gotta post things. You gotta post things constantly. I'm like, I don't want to.
Yeah, I think that's the sad side of like content creation that most people don't really understand. Like it's all momentum based and it's all like the grind is non-stop. Like you the tricky part is the only way to kind of build yourself, not build yourself, but like stand shoulder to shoulder with a lot of people and give yourself the best shot is to basically be posting consistently pretty much every day, maybe even twice a day across multiple platforms and doing it with high quality content or mid to high quality content because as we talked about, some of that crowd work stuff we see is definitely not high quality, but you know, you just need to put it out there. But you spend a lot of time trying to get to the point where you can do that comfortably. The people who do that most comfortably are people who have a team of people working for them, where it's
Yeah,
like
oh,
an
absolutely. Yeah.
editor, you know, someone who's gonna help kind of social it and that kind of stuff. But for the longest period of time, you do that on your own. You have to do that on your own and build yourself up. And it is, if you're gonna start doing that, you kind of have to make a bargain with yourself, which is like, I have to either go all in or not bother at all. There's no in betweens. And I know that because I'm someone who's existed in the in betweens a lot. Not because I don't want to do it, but it's because I have a day job and then I stream on the side and then I do YouTube videos on Sundays. If I can maybe find the time somewhere in there, I can maybe cut out a clip from an old stream and like the most of the stuff that I put out on that I have put out on TikTok, like it's a joke that I might have done on a stream
You were
when we
gonna
were
do on
recording.
stand up and you're like, ah, I'll just post.
No,
I'm just
no,
kidding.
no, no. I wish I could do a joke that good, but like it's like when I'm recording a podcast with like my friends at work, you know, and I'll be like, oh, this is a fun joke I told. I'll go back, find that, and then clip that out and then put it on TikTok. But that's the basically the level of effort I can put into it, given everything else I do. I can't like I can't sit down and do that day after day because I'm doing various other things. So you have to kind of like commit to it and know that you're going to spend a lot of time getting no clicks, no views, no comments. But eventually, if you're lucky, after you've posted every day for 3 years or 2 years or whatever it may be, you might crack that algorithm and get somewhere.
Or you can
It's
be me and everything you post is viral and then just not post anything ever again.
that's also good. That's also good. Or you could do what I do and just start fights with celebrities on Twitter. That's what
Yeah.
I do.
I don't have enough. I'm not roasty enough to do that, but I do find it very funny that like I like not to be like cocky, but like all my stuff that I posted on Instagram and TikTok did really well.
Mm,
And now I'm even more hesitant to post stuff because I'm like, well, now I started off high. Like I want to start. I like I post one
yeah.
video on there. I'm like, whatever. I'm shadow banned now. And like Lisa, it still did well. I'm like, nah, not good enough. Not good enough for me. And
I
it's
think that as you
yeah.
know, like, as you know, as a stand-up comedian, the hardest part of it
Are you
is you.
getting a meme from your high school pic? My junior high photo, yes, can be memed forever and haunt you every 6 months on Reddit and never get credit for it. Anyways.
I think like at a certain point, like I, based on what I've seen of you, like you have a very perfectionist mentality, right? Like where you don't want to put out something that is like mid to like just okay. Like you wanna put out something that's definitely got a super high chance of being funny and viral and that kind of stuff. Whereas, and I think that happens a lot to people like us, where we're like we don't want to half-ass anything, and that is the worst mentality
It
for
is because
because
I also have OCD, so I'll obsess
yeah.
over it too, and then I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not worth anything, and then there you
And then
go.
you open up an app and just every other successful comedian is putting like straight dog shit 24/7.
Right?
And then they have one clip that's half good. And it's like you have to like one other thing to success is like you have to kind of lower the threshold on what you consider to be high quality and just put stuff out there and eventually hope that you through iteration just naturally kind of become good at figuring stuff out and putting it out there. But it just means that you have to get over the fact that you're going to put out some garbage for a really long time or what you think is garbage. Chances are sometimes I'll watch something that I'll see someone put out something and I'll be like, this sucks. And then I look at the comments and everyone's like, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Like,
what?
ugh. I know that's the whole reason why I started posting comedy is that like I know people who post comedy and they go viral. I'm like, well, if they can do that, I can do it. Like that was like their stuff to me was like not that good, but then my stuff's probably not that good to a lot of people and it's fine. But also it's just like, ugh, at the same time, I'm also not 22.
Yeah.
I'm in my 30s. Like I'm definitely at that point in my life where I'm trying to like just not be incredibly on the internet all the time, which is ironic because it's like kind of our jobs. That's the whole reason
Mm.
why I started doing like Gundam stuff now is I was like, I just need to not look at a fucking screen for more than 10 hours a day. Like
See, I'm the complete opposite where I'm like at this point I'm committed to screens.
I'm
Like I'm
committed to
going
screen.
all in. I'm going all in
Both
on
of
being
we're both wearing
extremely on them.
glasses. We're like,
Yeah.
it's fine. I know it
Yeah,
is
I'm
very funny meeting people who are like with like same thing with like dating and like friends like, oh, I don't like people who are always glued to their phones. I'm like, that's too bad. I'm glued to my phone
yeah,
all
that
the
sucks.
time.
Yeah. I mean like that basically means I don't like I hate it when people say that. It's because it's so dismissive. It's just like blanket. I don't want like people who are glued to the screens. But like, who knows what that could be on that screen? Like, I could be writing the next great, novel, American novel on that screen. That's why I'm glued to it. It's just so
I have a
dismissive of
privacy
things.
screen on mine so
Yeah,
that no
that's
one can see
no one can see. I should get
no
one
one
of
can see
those because
the all the, you know, all the hentai I look at in public, you know.
but it is very I find it very dismissive just to be like no screen people please thank you. It's like you have no idea. That's like there's so many people's modern interests that are tied to screens, and like it could be someone that just really like I really like YouTube essays and they are about I don't know politics. So it's like everyone who's
Six
like
is
oh
just
okay.
as trash as anime is, so it doesn't
Oh,
matter.
it's way worse. Like I would rather be watching the worst anime possible than listening to like anything about politics and from most people. I have a few streamers that I do enjoy from a political side, but like 90% of the time it's just garbage. But
Well, it's like the same thing where it's like you just go. That's why Twitter. Oh, I saw that you released a "Why I'm Not Quitting Twitter" YouTube video. I didn't
yeah,
watch it because I was like, well,
yeah.
he's staying, so I don't have to watch it. You know.
Well, it was kind of like that, like yeah. So I put that on my YouTube channel because it was like everyone was like, "I'm quitting Twitter. Goodbye, everyone," and I was like, "Is that the smart thing to do? Is that the right thing to do? Is that the most productive thing to do? Where it's like, hey, Twitter might suck. I agree with most people. Twitter can suck. I feel like I like Twitter a lot. I'm very open about
We
liking
became
Twitter.
friends on Twitter.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Like, think about the whole point of that video is like, yes, Twitter sucks, but think about the things that we as a society have managed to achieve based on Twitter. Like,
Yeah, don't let this billionaire dork
yeah,
ass loser ruin it for you.
from a personal perspective, like I've used Twitter to raise awareness about, certain issues that are very close to my heart. And I have used it to raise money for charity. And I have met loads of friends and people that I care about on there. And I've curated a space where I feel good about being there. And occasionally, obviously, something happens where the outside world, Twitter speaking, comes in and like that's fine though, because eventually they piss off and I'm back to my friends and our small like corner of Twitter. And this thing starts happening, and I feel like people are so quick to dismantle these kind of like communities that they've built that can be used for good. Like stuff like when BLM was happening, like it was a major thing on Twitter. Like that,
Oh yeah.
a lot of the momentum that it got was through social networks like Twitter. When people in different parts of the world are having they're under siege because of various oppressive governments. There were multiple times in the last few years where they got the message about like, hey, we're being oppressed via Twitter, and Twitter would put,
Because Twitter was like the fastest way of getting
exactly,
information. Yeah.
exactly. And now like people have just been at the slightest opportunity, the slightest indication that a very annoying billionaire knob has come to like cause issues. People are like, oh, well, I guess this is done. All that is nothing. We're going to co-host now, which is like, what are you
It's like
going
the
to
whole thing, like,
achieve with
I'm gonna move to a
co-host?
different country. I'm
Yeah, it's
like
like, what are
we
you
why don't
doing?
we can help fix the problems
Yeah.
here.
Or at
Also,
least,
good
yeah.
luck.
Yeah, yeah. And
Right.
try and preserve some of the power that you have generated and gained and the influence that you can have in the space that you have, because instead of just abandoning it entirely. Like I would rather exist on Twitter owned by Elon, which is full of idiotic people that with check marks that have paid for it, and with the hope that should the time come and I need to raise some awareness about something happening in the world, I will still have a decent shot of reaching more than the 10 people that will follow me to
Yeah.
co-host or Mastodon or whatever it is, whatever rubbish that is. Like I'm more invested in
I'm not
that.
yeah, I'm not gonna start an I'm sorry, I have too many social medias. I'm not
No.
moving on to another one. I'm just gonna stick with the garbage I'm on now. You know.
Yeah, and like that's my current thinking. Like things could change, who knows? And the thing that is like he is clearly trying to turn this Twitter into like places like Parler and Gab, which are just right wing, like like the very discriminatory places where conspiracy theories run rampant. And that is his objective. And
Yeah.
he's
He says
shown
it's
up
not
here.
though.
Yeah,
Of
I mean, like
course.
it
Yeah.
clearly is, and the people who should be like being like, we're not going to let that happen. We're going to fight tooth and nail to stop that from happening. Are just like, well, I'm going somewhere else. Then it's like, why? You're just letting him do what he's wanting to do.
Yeah.
Stand your ground and be like, okay, you can try, but I promise you, I will fight my corner of I fight for my
Honestly, I've
corner
been
of
on
Twitter.
Twitter more now since Elon took over because I love watching people clown on him. Like it's
I am out there
highlight of my
relentlessly
fuck.
bullying Elon. Like I am constantly I will post pictures of him suffering through hair loss at every given opportunity. Trust me, I'm doing it.
Anytime I think that I'm desperate for attention, I'm like, Elon Musk exists. Nobody's more desperate for attention than that
No,
guy.
no.
So
I posted a picture of his Elden Ring build
I love it.
and it's just like very very weird nerds defending it and I'm
Yeah,
like,
people can
what are
play
you
however
talking
they want. I'm
about?
like, nothing about this build
Yeah,
makes sense. Why do
people
you
can
have
play
two?
however they want. Why do you have two shields? Why do you have two
Also,
shields?
why do you have 4 summons and no healing flasks? What is wrong with you?
This is the man they call a genius. This is like,
Yes.
what are you talking about?
Quoted it, can you
Um,
bully me? You absolutely can bully
yeah,
any millionaire,
if
any
listen,
billionaire, anyone.
it is your God-given right to bully billionaires, and if they
Eh.
cannot take it, that is a victory on your
That
side.
was the whole
Bully
people being
every
like,
billionaire.
you're just jealous you're not a billionaire. I'm like, I would not want to be a billionaire because there's no ethical way to
No,
become a billionaire. And I would rather just stay with my non-billionaire money than ever
yeah.
turn into that piece of yeah, it's like, oh, I know. I hate it. But
There's
the
there's that there's that quote. I can't remember who it came from, but I think it's a John Steinbeck quote. I don't know this off heart, but like I'm just reading it. Is that one of the biggest problems that exists is summed up by this quote. It's like um American people basically the poor see themselves not as exploited proletariat but as temporarily embarrassed millionaires, and I feel like that sums
yes,
up
actually.
everyone, where it's like no one everyone thinks that they are about to become a millionaire, and all it takes is defending Elon Musk. And it's like, you could no, this dude would throw you into a volcano at the very first opportunity. You don't have to
And
defend
then
him.
call you a pedophile for some
Yeah,
reason.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just bully them instead. Okay.
It just makes me laugh because it's like I know this is really silly. I'm pretty bad at math. I failed like 4 years of it in high school.
Same.
So yeah,
Let's go.
good. That's why I went.
I basically threw up during my maths exam because I was so anxious from it, and
I
they were
went.
like, "You need to get out."
I went to an alternative school. Do you know what that is? Like your senior year. It's like a bad kid school.
Oh,
Yeah, I was a bad
that
kid.
sounds
Mainly,
wild.
mainly, yeah. It was like the only high school where kids could smoke cigarettes on break. It was like it was wild.
Sounds amazing.
It was incredible, and they treated us like we were a youth group. They had us make us do Sunday morning or Monday morning like songs, like karaoke and stuff. It was weird. It was a bunch of like just like a strung out teenagers, but mine was just like really bad at math. But you know, I did not, this is really silly. I did not realize how much more a billion was than a million until I started
Oh
playing
yeah.
the Yakuza games.
Oh yeah.
Because I would start accumulating so much money. And then when I go to buy all these businesses, I'm like, how do I still have so much money? I'm spending 200 million yen every 5 minutes. I still have so much money. And then I was like, oh, see, this is why you can't just become a billionaire, guys. That recently, yeah, that's how, this
Yeah.
is why, like you said earlier, I'm banking on my personality till I die because I'm not going back to school. Like, this is. I mean, I knew it was a big number difference, but I didn't really know until I played Yakuza 0 and accumulated so much yen, okay?
Yeah. You never really know anything until Goro Majima tells you it. So
Right? Until
that's how
you
it
have
works.
a business and a host a side gig to
Hmm.
launder all your Yakuza money. Yeah, thank you for teaching us the real lessons. But it is very funny to see people like suck it up to like billionaires and millionaires. It's like if it was that easy to work hard and become wealthy, then why isn't everyone doing that? Like
It's just bizarre. Like it's just I'll never understand like randos defending millionaires and billionaires. It's just like you're doing the work for the enemy here, man. Like it's not gonna work out in your favor. It's just very strange. And the funniest thing I see always is like Elon Musk tweets something, and the first person in there is like MrBeast, and it's like this is just millionaires talking to
right.
millionaires talking to millionaires, and it's just
Also,
like, come on, man.
who is MrBeast? I just know he's a YouTuber with a lot of money, but who is he? Like I've never heard of him until Twitter. And then I was like, why does this kid have so much money?
I,
Like
I have I've
maybe he's secretly Elon Musk's son. We just
I,
don't know it.
he's got a lot of money, and his whole content grind is like, I'm gonna spend a lot of money to do this thing. It's like
Do a lot of.
we gave 10 people $1 billion each, and it's like, okay, yeah, that's
How do
content
you
for
not
you.
know MrBeast? Because I'm 33 and didn't look at a screen for 10 years. There you go.
Yeah.
YouTubers were not a thing for me. You know, like I had the only YouTuber I watched before I got into like gaming was Donkey, really. That was the only YouTuber I watched. Besides
Hmm.
that, it was all YouTube videos. It was like, you know, here's G.I. Joe PSA videos and like
Hey
whatever.
kid,
Right.
on the computer.
There you go. I honestly did not even really know what Twitch was until a few years ago. I was way out of the loop. And I've talked about this. It's because I didn't have any gaming friends growing up. Like all my friends were male and they all played like Halo and shit. I didn't play any of that, so I was like bullied for being like the fake gamer friend because I played Nintendo. It was so dumb. I dealt with years of like not allowing to express my interest in things because a guy would tell me that none of it matters. And even when I started streaming, so many of those bad guy friends I had gave me shit for it. They were like, no one's actually watching you because you're good at games. They just watch you because you're hot. I'm like, you say the same thing with comedy. You say the only reason I get booked is I'm hot, not because I'm funny. Like, there's nothing I can do that you'll take me seriously, is what it
Yeah,
was.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's. I mean, like that usually happens. That the people that do that are usually the most insecure, and also the most aware of the fact that they have no talent to
Also,
distinguish
who
them own selves.
cares?
Yeah,
I
it's just like,
noticed that getting older. Like I was like I spent years defending myself and I got older and I was like, I don't even care if they're
yeah,
watching me because I'm hot. But they're watching me play Metal Gear Solid 3 while being hot. So there you go. They learned something else. So it's
yeah.
fine. But I didn't, yeah,
They learn
I
about the Shagohod.
yeah, exactly. Like I didn't have any friends that were into to games that they would like want me to play. It was always like I was like strictly Nintendo until I got like a PS4. I didn't even have a PC. I had like a whatever work laptop I got. I didn't have a actual PC until 2019 when I bought this to
Hmm.
stream. Before that, I was like, oh my, when I bought my tower, I was like, oh my God, this thing's empty. Like, I haven't had a PC tower since I was 14 on like Zelda Universe forums, like or Blink-182 forums, and then I have this and I'm like, "Oh my God, why is it so light? Where's all the wires?" Like I didn't know. Oh, you can put things in this? Oh
That's
my God.
amazing. I love
It,
that.
it was wild. So now over the last few years, now that I'm like streaming and stuff, like I'm just now starting to learn about YouTubers and Twitch streamers. And when I started working at EG, my boss Taylor would tell me about all these big streamers. And I was like, I don't know who that is. And then like be like, are you serious? I'm like, yes, I'm trying to learn. I promise. I literally
Honestly,
Googled biggest
it's
Twitch streamers, biggest YouTubers. I just have a list.
the funny thing is like they get cycled through so quickly that you could ask you have to it's a full-time job keeping up with all these people because the biggest YouTubers and Twitch streamers of today in a month's time will be non-existent probably unless you're up to the really top echelon of them. Chances are that they won't exist, and that's probably easier for you to not pay attention. I think like MrBeast is probably one of the few that's always around, and he's like desperately fighting for relevancy all the time by spending crazy amounts of money and also telling people that he deserves their time and respect. That's something that he does where he's just like, please pay attention to me. And he'll just outright say it. And it's just
Right?
like, okay, cool, yeah.
Sorry.
There we go. Katsu's here now.
Katsu's here. He's shy. See, he doesn't want you to see him. He's
Oh,
just a
bless.
shy boy.
Oh, that is so cute.
I know. I need cat emotes now that I have two cats, but yeah, look at him. He's just buried into my arm.
Oh, there we go.
Nope,
There he
there he
is.
is. Anyway, sorry. The cat's just like he looks upset. No, it's just I've been perpetually inside for the last whatever weeks, and they're like, when are you gonna leave again? We don't like you here anymore. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, it's just wild to me. Like like I also do obviously like did freelance writing and stuff for a while, but I often think about that. Like it's like streaming is going really well and I want to like build my channel and like move to YouTube and stuff, but I'm like, am I be doing this in like my 50s? Like like by then I'm like maybe. I mean, there's definitely streamers that are much older, but it's like how long am I gonna go until I just go blind from looking at a screen too close to my face every single day?
Yeah.
You know?
It's definitely a young person's game, but I firmly agree that young people should not be allowed to kind of
Have
overrun.
opinions. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. But overrun these kind of like platforms because like like as we were talking about with the comedians, the perspective becomes so skewed in one direction, and there feel like people who are not older, but like on 15 to 25 years old need to be on platforms to kind of present more of a balance where it's not like I feel like if we just let these kids control these platforms,
Damn these children.
they're like, let's be honest, some of them are really stupid.
I
Like,
really thought I think I Googled the average age for Twitch streamers, and a lot of them are older now.
yeah.
Most of them are older now. No, which is great. I mean, yes, like give kids a chance, but at the same time, like you have all these kids that are going through high school right now thinking it's okay, one day I'm going to be a YouTuber or streamer and like not working. And I'm like, you should still at least graduate.
Yeah,
I
you
know
should
I barely
graduate.
did, but I
Yeah.
did it.
And also, like, you should figure out what you want to be a streamer or a YouTuber for, because I feel like the default now is I'm going to be a streamer, YouTuber, and then they sit down in front of a camera and they're like, "Hi, today I ate eggs for breakfast, and then I did this," and it's just like, what? What are you doing here? It's just like vlogging is the default now, and I know there's a lot of room for vlogging and there's good, content around vlogging, but everyone's gonna do the same thing. You
I
will
think
not stand out.
there's also the parasocial aspect that goes with it too, because a lot of younger people, they don't realize how much that affects you as you get older.
Hmm.
Like I never had to really deal with this in comedy. Like, like the worst I would get is like creepy dudes after my show. And the funniest thing is 90% of the time they would just tell me that they want to do stand up. Like they wouldn't even address me doing stand up. They would just be like, "Hey, I want to become a comedian." I'm like the funny one in my friend group, and I'm like, "Cool, did you watch me?" like like they would not acknowledge my presence, and they would just
Yeah.
tell me all about how funny they are, but how everyone is too sensitive and woke now. And I'm like, okay, well, I made jokes about Panda Express, so I don't know what to tell you. Like, I
Yeah.
don't. But with like streaming, it's much different because it's like it's a lot more of a personable setting, and you like build a community. Like, you don't build a community from comedy. Like, I get a bunch of friends will like come out to my shows, and Twitch people will come up to my shows. This is really awesome. And even funnier when they come up to my shows and introduce me as their Twitch names and not their real names. I'll have to be like, "What's your real name?" Like, "Oh shit, it's like Greg." And I'm like, it's like, but you don't know me as that, and I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
But like, it is weird though, because it's like, there's people who will try to build like that personal relationship with you, like people who will try to trauma dump on me that I don't know who they are, because they're like, "Hey, I saw you went through something. Now I'm gonna tell you my life story." And I'm like, I'm not a therapist. Like, I'm not.
Mm,
I
mm.
can give you my own advice from my life experiences, but people will like try to go be like, Lisa seems so comfortable with her community. Maybe she's comfortable with me individually. And it's like, no, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm comfortable. These are, this is my community, my friendships, but like, it's because I have this block between us. Like, if
Yeah.
I want to become close with you, I would make an effort to do that, but like,
Yeah.
assuming that we're besties is not good, and it's not healthy. And like, I'll see how people treat others on the internet. Like, not to use the term cancel culture because it's so annoying, but like, people will resurface things that they did in the past, and they'd be like, "Oh, well, we should get rid of everything they've ever done," and all this stuff. And it's like, well, yes, like, if you're saying a bunch of fucked up things 10 years ago, you should probably, address that. But it was a different time in the early 2000s, like,
Mm.
people said a lot of stupid shit back then. I watch a lot of movies that are completely outdated as far as like humor goes and blah blah. But it's like, I'm not gonna try to cancel Steve Martin because he said some bad slurs in the 1970s,
Mm.
And I think it's like, there has to be like this weird moral binary on the internet.
Yeah.
Like, it's either you have to be 100% good and can't fuck up, or you're a fuck up. And I think that's something like a lot of younger impressionable people have developed. Like, we didn't have that issue when we were younger, because
No.
I have a whole joke on stage about it. I'm like, if you want to troll someone on the internet, you had to wait for your dad to hang up the phone. And then by the time the dial up was done, you're over it. Like, like, that 20 minutes of anger is gone. And then you're like, well, he already signed
Hmm.
off, so it's a lost cause. But now everything is so like responsive and quick that everyone's like, first thing they want to do is react and be like, no, 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 this is bad. I'm going to say what I feel like right now. And it's out in the public where everyone can see it. And it's just, yeah, it's not good.
Yeah. It's a kind of dangerous.
Cancel banjos, cancel Steve Martin. Yes, let's do it. The insta gratification. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wild, especially in the community like anime too. Like, anime and video games, is that a lot of
Hmm.
people get very, very attached to characters, or they get very, very attached to certain streamers and content creators. And if you look at the people who are being, I guess, unhinged about it, they're all very, very young.
Yeah, I mean, like I think the dangerous part of it is, or the dangerous part of being online is when you create your identity in the virtual world before you do it in the real world, and you kind of invest too much in certain fandoms and that kind of stuff. Like, when you're like a kid and you grow up and you go into, the first thing that happens is you invest in like, I don't know, like a niche anime, and that is your whole life. You when Chances are you're going to find that under attack very, very quickly on the internet, because it's a place where everyone expresses their opinion. And if that's the only place where you have found a sense of self, you're going to behave in very drastic and like very confusing and inadvisable ways. Whereas, if you're able to just shut that screen and then be a normal person outside of it, that thing that happened to you online doesn't really matter anymore. And I feel
Yeah.
like that's what happens in this modern day and age, especially with kids who aspire to be like content creators and YouTubers and that kind of stuff. They skip the phase where they kind of anchor themselves to the real world and develop as people in the real world outside of that, so that if anything happens in that virtual space, they can retreat back to the real world and always feel like I feel have that sense of self and that grounding. And they just exist in that virtual space entirely, so that any slight against them, or that thing that they like, or any sort of like different interpretation feels like a personal attack, as if it would in a real world where someone was like telling you to your face you suck. And like that is
Right?
a thing that, yeah, I think that's a thing that is very dangerous in this day and age. Like there should be, it's kind of funny because like access to the internet through the early days, dial up was basically so kind of, it wasn't prevalent, where you had to kind of go through this training period of getting to the
Yeah, you
internet.
had
Like
to
you had
learn
to,
HTML code to have
yeah, yeah.
MySpace layouts. Like we
In
all
the
knew how to
early,
code
yeah,
back then.
in the early days of the internet, you had to convince someone to pay for access to get you onto the internet. And like it would be like, you didn't, by default, you weren't born into a household where internet was already there. Like I remember a world where the internet did not exist. And I remember what it was like trying to convince my parents that I needed the internet. And that was literally years. So that by the time I got it, I was basically a fully formed personality, or like I was most of a personality. That when I went online and someone was like, dude, anime sucks, I'd just be like, okay,
Well,
I'm
it's
just
also
gonna.
because, like, and I see it this way, is that when you're in high school, I guess, I mean, when did you move to the US?
It's about 3 years ago.
Oh, okay. So I don't know if it was the same, but like here in American high schools, like in your last few years, they tell you like what's your 10-year plans, what are your you have to have this whole project of
Yeah,
like what you want to be and all this stuff. And even though during the time, like I didn't take that shit seriously because I went to an alternate, I literally played guitar. I said I was gonna be a famous musician. I learned a song and I played it, and that was my project. I got an A plus. Like it was,
nice.
and I interviewed one of my dad's friends who was a musician. And I just made up all these bands he was in and contracts. Like I bullshitted the whole thing. But like that added so much unwanted pressure to you because when you graduate high school, you have a flock of children going to college, and then as you, and you're like, I need to figure out what I want to do. And you spend most of your 20s trying to build kind of like a community of people that you want to impress and trying to figure out who you want to be and who you want to impress. And you have these goals for you that are unobtainable. Like mine was like, I want to get a house before I'm 30. That never
Oh
happened,
Jesus.
right? And then you turn 30 and you realize you're still fucking young.
Yeah,
Except for now, your brain's fully developed. You stop caring as much about all the little like materialistic things, you know? And then that's where it becomes healthier for you to figure out what you want to do. Like
yeah.
I was a yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
I didn't realize what I really wanted to do until I was done. I didn't realize what I really
your
wanted to
back
do
starts to hurt,
until,
yes.
yeah, until I was like, I figured out what I wanted to do at the end of doing the thing that I thought I wanted to do, which is like really weird. I spent my entire life training to be a lawyer, and then once I was done, I was like, I'm gonna get into video games. And that is my, like, that is my path. So like kids who come out and they're like, I'm gonna be a YouTuber, it's like, maybe give it a little while, maybe figure some other stuff out, and then figure out if you want to do it. Is this what you want to do?
Yeah, my backup plan's OnlyFans, but just for my feet. So like
That's
yeah,
sounds
yeah,
good.
yeah.
Funnily enough, that's also my backup plan. So it's great.
Just so
Uh,
just to have a cat rescue, but it's just my two cats and people just pay me to keep watching them. Yeah. No, it is. It's like I didn't have any plan really. Like I was just kind of status quo and then I was like, I think I'm funny and I'm gonna do something about it. And then that was it. But it's like you also have to learn how to be financially okay with yourself and mentally and emotionally. There's a lot of things that people don't realize. Like I've said this thousands of times before I got into content creation. I get bleh, gross, whatever. Twitch and all that. Like, you know, I used to work at a grocery store and I did freight. So I was like, I gotta drive like the forklift, you know, and like stock milk in a cooler and work midnight
yeah,
shifts. I did that for years. And I was like, none of that is as exhausting as doing this. Because I didn't have to
interesting.
show up to work in a good mood and be my best self. I just had to get my job done. It was just very mundane work to me. And then I'd go home and do whatever I wanted. But now, like, I can't be in a bad mood. Like, I have to,
Hmm.
like, be presentable because if not, people can see it in your work. They can see it in your
Yeah,
stand up, they can see it in your streams, they can see it in your content. That if you're not there all away, like in a good mood, then it's gonna ruin, you know, what you're doing. And that was something
interesting.
I didn't realize until recently. Like people have
My
seen me being in bad, like almost crying on streams, being in bad moods. Like I can't do
hmm.
that. You know, I can't go hide in a milk cooler and cry into a gallon
Hmm.
of milk anymore. You know?
I was the opposite way, where I did that stuff, and after I was done with that stuff and started doing this job, I use it to remind me how easy I have it. Where it's like, I could this day sucks, but I could be waking up at 4 a.m. to go to work at this time, do this
We do
thing,
have
and
clips of you crying though. Thanks, guys. Yeah, it is. I
um,
mean, like, yes, as far as physical work goes, yeah, like getting up at 4 a.m. sucked and stuff. But as far as like the mentality, like the mentality of it, it's
yeah,
much more exhausting for me to like forcibly engage with people and be social. I mean, and this isn't about stream. I love streaming, but that's mainly because I have an addiction to video games.
hmm,
But like traveling, going to conventions, and like trying to come up with content for it's all that stuff is so much different than what I'm used to that it's like, oh my God, like I have to get used to all this now. But
yeah,
where I thrive the most is just, being really cute and pretty and all that stuff, right? Just kidding.
nice.
All the people who are just watching me because I'm adorable, which is what every guy tells me. So funny too. When I got my job at EG, which was like Nicole, our CEO, reached out to me specifically and wanted me to get the job. I still had guy friends saying, "Well, they only hired you because you're a girl and because you're pretty." I was like, "Wow." I could become president of the US. And you'd be like, they just did it because you're hot. Like, it was like, it's
There's
so
no
annoying.
winning. There's no
It
winning.
isn't. It is. It's a weird thing about being a woman. It's like you just have to take the fact that no matter what you do in any sort of field, that men are always going to bring you down. And
Hmm.
that's just something I've had to learn over the years. It has gotten better though.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think,
I'm sure you
like I
get the
said, but
same comments, right?
yeah, they're always
Yeah.
like, "Oh, you're really cute and pretty. It's because you're hot." I wish, but no, I think it is genuinely like every time that stuff happens, or I see any of my friends going through that, I always just remind them, like, "Hey, they're trying to be reductive and minimize
Your success.
your success because they know that the qualities that have led to that success are qualities they do not possess and have no chance of possessing." So like whenever people like tweet at me and they're like, "This sucks that you did this thing and it sucks," I always reply with like, if I do reply, I rarely do, but when I do, I'm like, "Show me something that you've made.
Right?
Like let me see the thing that you've made that gives you the confidence to tell me that the thing that I made is not good."
It's like
And
same thing with
no one
people
has
being
it.
like, anyone can do that job. I'm like, oh, well, then you do it.
Yeah, do it.
If anyone can do that, like that's the thing too, is I've had such bad, obviously, like imposter syndrome, like the struggling perfectionism, and so much had to do with having those type of abusive friendships growing up. And now I've gotten to the point, it's like, A, who fucking cares why somebody got hired to do anything? Like they got hired and they're doing that job. If they were replaceable, they would be replaceable. And I have to remind myself that every day, is that you were chosen to be on the show. You were chosen to for someone to sub to this stream, blah blah blah. And that's a hard thing to do, you know? I think
Hmm.
that's the one thing I still struggle with out of my 20s, is like as comfortable as I am as a person now and how independent I've become over the years, which was a really big deal for me. I still struggle with everyone still struggles with the imposter syndrome, but I still struggle with anytime I want to like go live or anytime I post anything, like there's always going to be that thing in my head, like what if this is all I'm good for? What if I'm not good enough? And it's just crazy, you
Yeah,
know? But
it can be
not
debilitating.
to turn this conversation to a therapy session, guys.
I mean, it is what it is.
That's normally what most of these streams are anyways. But it is great. Like, and I was gonna talk to you about this anyways. Like, I started playing the Metal Gear Solid series, and like I never really played it. I had a partner who was obsessed with it, and we were together for like 3 years, but I never played the game, so he would always
Mm.
quote it. And I was like, I don't know what I would walk in a room and be like, "You're that ninja." I'd be like, I don't know what that means. Like, I don't know what that means.
I'm that
Okay.
ninja.
Yeah.
Look at this.
and and I remember the first time. See, oh my God. Where did you get that? Did you make
Uh,
that?
no, I wish I made it. You can even put it on.
Does it actually fit?
Uh huh.
You should just do the rest of the show like this. Oh my God. And it lights up? Where did you get that?
I got it on. I think I got it on Etsy.
Did you
I think
really
it's
just
on Etsy.
have it sitting next to your desk?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
of course.
it's just chilling here.
Just chilling. My Grey Fox helmet.
I don't have
Um.
anything. I don't have any. I have a little Puchita doll. There we go.
Oh,
And my banana.
Pochta.
And my cats, they're both here on my feet swimming like sharks right now. Um, No, I never played, but I played Metal Gear Solid. I played 2 very briefly when I was very young because I had cousins that had a PlayStation, and then I was like, this isn't my thing.
Hmm.
Little did they know. No, just kidding. But we played 5 together. That was my first introduction to the series. I played
Wow.
5, and I was like, oh my God, this game's incredible. Like,
Yeah,
I
five
just,
is five is brilliant.
and I was like, you can do so much. And like that was like my first introduction to like any of them. Like I never knew anything about him except for briefly too and knowing who Snake was. And so it's really awesome now getting into it because I was very nervous starting the series because I thought people would be like, how have you never played this game? Blah, blah, blah. You know, the whole kind of gatekeeper thing. And
Yeah, yeah,
really, it
yeah.
just turned into wait, there's someone out there who hasn't played the series and hasn't been spoiled yet. I have to watch them.
That's the
It's
thing
like,
about that's the best thing about Twitch. When it goes well and you start a new like series, you will naturally attract people who want to relive it for the first time through someone new. It happens most with From games and Metal Gear for me, and even Yakuza, I think. Like you
yeah,
get another one that happened to me
very
for
niche
especially.
communities.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for me, like the Outer Wilds was one where it
Mm-hmm.
happened. Where the moment I started streaming that, I got loads of Outer Wilds fans come along, and they're like, we are so excited to see you play through this game, and they're like brandos, and like they stuck through it the entire thing, and they're like very careful about ensuring that the experience was preserved for me. So they were gatekeeping, but gatekeeping in the best way possible, where someone new would come in and be like, no, don't mention this, he doesn't know this stuff yet, just carry on. Um and it was like one of the best experiences, and I think that's why I do that thing where I will Google, or not Google, in Twitch search, I'll just search the name of a game that I like, and then try and find like someone who's like clearly playing through it the first time, and I'll just watch them, and it's like a lot of fun. So I think like what you're experiencing is makes perfect sense, because Metal Gear fans, they want other people to love Metal Gear. And that's the best thing about that community. Where if you ever find a Metal Gear fan, like the chances are there, and you tell them you haven't played it, the first thing they'll say is, "You gotta play it. It's so good." As opposed to like, "Wow, why do you have why how have you never
Yeah.
played this?"
How have you never played one of the most popular series of all time? Well,
Yeah,
there's a lot of them because video games are as big as the fucking movies now.
yeah,
I'm sure you've seen my friend Maddie's comics.
yep,
The
they're very
yeah.
good.
Yeah, she too she's playing through it for her first time. And so all of her shit's like she just writes comics every time she like consumes something. And she was the one who like really pushed me to start because I wasn't gonna start till next year and I was actually gonna do Dark Souls 2 first. So
No,
you
you
get
made the
through all
right
the
decision.
I still want to play Dark Souls 2 though. I heard it's not I would actually like it and I don't know if people are trolling me or not.
Scholar of the First Sin is fine. It's just a fine game. Like,
It's fine.
yeah, it's fine.
I have 2 people in my life telling me that I would love it, but those 2 people also said that I wouldn't like the first Dark Souls. So I'm like, I don't trust any of your guys' opinions actually.
That's a bizarre set of like, you're not gonna like Dark Souls. You will love Dark Souls too, though.
I know. I was like, "Are you messing with me?" I don't know. No, but like, when I started playing like Metal Gear, I would have people who, for me, it's like I don't like any backseat gaming, but I understand in those games you kind of have to. So I feel
Hmm.
like I've just confused people at this point where they're like, "Are we allowed a backseat?" I'm like, "Yes," and I'm like, "Well, don't say too much though." And
Yeah,
they're like, "Well,
yeah,
then I don't know what to say because this game is really hard to not backseat." Because it's like
yeah,
I'm playing 3 right now, and it's like you play it almost differently than the other ones. And I was like,
yeah.
"Oh my God, it's just." And
The
I'm also yeah,
the rule I have is like, at the start of most streams, I'll be like, I will tell you when I want some backseating, and I will tell you specifically what I want. So I always say like, I am stuck. What do I do here? And then the people will be like, here's what you do. That was mainly for Outer Wilds though. I would, what they do is like, the Outer Wilds thing was incredible, because this group of people showed up and they had a system in place already where they would do 2 clues and then a direct kind of like, here's what you do. So they'd be like, hey, maybe you should think about why this is happening. And then I'd think about it a bit, try some things, and I'll be like, I'm not getting it. And then they'll present another clue. It's like, what if you tried
they have a
looking in
whole
this
system.
direction? Yeah. And then I'll be like, I don't get it. And the third one will be like, they'd be like, pull that switch over there in that corner. And that's how it worked. And I feel like that I adopted that for other things where I'm like playing a game. And if there's some like element of like trying to preserve the experience, I explain the 3 rules where it's like, give me 2 clues and then tell me
Professor
on the
Layton
third
in
one.
your stream.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, But yeah, like Metal Gear especially, like I feel like gameplay wise, it can occasionally be like, oh, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here. A lot of the backseating comes from people explaining like story stuff. I found in a lot of the streams that I watch where it's like, what the hell does this mean?
I try to explain the plot of 2 after I finish it. I was like, I don't know, the internet's bad.
I mean, that's pretty close, yeah.
There you go,
That's
the
pretty
end.
close,
The
yeah.
internet is bad.
There's a big boy on roller skates and he drinks wine through a straw,
Yeah.
which is great.
And then a lot of bisexuals in this
Hmm.
game. Raiden's
Hmm.
just extremely straight, and that Raiden and Rose's relationship is the whole reason why I don't want straight people in my video games. I'm like, this is the worst relationship I've ever seen. And someone was like, Raiden is definitely bisexual. I'm like, no bisexual has a relationship like that with a woman. That is just the worst thing ever. I really love 3 so far. I'm not that far. I just got the crocodile hat, so I feel like I don't need to play anything else. I feel like
Hmm.
this is
Hmm.
that's it. Like I just played the game.
Yep, that's
And
it.
I am loving it, but like it's that thing too where it's like, wow, you guys told me Yakuza had a lot of cut scenes. I was like, this
Oh
is
yeah.
just Kojima reading a wiki on an entire gun every
Yeah.
single 10
Yeah.
minutes. It's just like, we get it, you love wars in
Yeah.
America. Like it's just he is
Well,
just for me, it's like he's just a giant American weeb.
yeah, he's a marabou. Like
A
100%,
marabou.
he's a
Yeah.
marabou. Yeah, yeah, 100%. And like he loves, I mean, he makes that clear through his like Twitter presence as well, where he's just constantly talking about American movies and American music. And
Yeah.
yeah, I do like respect how like front and center he is with that, his love of like American culture. And
Oh yeah, it's no
but
hidden agenda. He's
no, not
very
at
up for.
all. But he will like at least have interesting takes on things and try and like rework it into like different. I love the fact that they use the historical events to kind of craft a new narrative in Metal
And
Gear
real
Solid 3.
footage
And
too.
real footage, yeah. Wait till you get to Metal Gear Solid 4, which is like you think that it's got long cutscenes now. There are moments. I'm
That
pretty sure there's an hour and a half long cutscene in Metal Gear Solid 4.
it is. It has the longest
Yeah,
cutscene ever,
yeah.
and I've already prepped popcorn. I'm used to cutscenes though. Like I like, but the
Yeah.
thing about his cutscenes is like I don't need to know the whole explanation about one gun. Is that going to be? And also, I don't understand the plot enough to really immerse myself to be like, ah, I get it.
Yeah, yeah. I
I'm
love that.
here,
I love that stuff. How much he's into like weird gun porn, or like
right? It's just
his characters are into gun porn, where it's like, oh, I'm gonna tell you
and
the specifications of this gun. It's like, okay,
or how
cool.
Pliskin definitely wasn't Snake forever. Everyone's like, he's not Snake. I'm like, yeah, he's just some guy named
Yeah.
Pliskin.
See, that's the funny thing. They are like every time I see someone playing these games for the first time, the same kind of goofs and gaffs and
Right?
memes show up. So the amount of times I've been in a stream where everyone is trying to convince the streamer that Pliskin is not a snake is innumerable, and I
They're
love
just
it.
some guy voiced by the same voice actor.
Yeah, I've been part of that where I've been taking people through the game and they're like, "So this is Snake, right?" I'm like, "I have no idea what you're talking about. This is clearly a different person named Iroquois Pliskin. Do
named
not."
named
Yeah.
after a character named Snake Plissken. Yes. It's too funny. And the thing is like the best thing too I love about streaming is that people have understand what games are up my alley. Cuz
Hmm.
like I said before this, I played mainly indie games and Nintendo. I played a
Yeah.
lot of indie games in Nintendo. And the first game I ever streamed technically was Animal Crossing, so I had nothing else. But then I started streaming Hollow Knight because I was like, it's my favorite game of all time. And I was like, oh my God, if you love this, you should play the Souls games. I was like, no, I'll never do that. Like I've heard, oh, I heard they're just too hard and I'll hate them. And of course, like I started streaming Bloodborne. And by the way, I still think it's the scariest game I've ever played. I feel
Yeah,
like
I can see that.
I mean, I scream at every game. I'm playing Resident Evil 4 right now, which isn't even scary, and I still get scared. Like, I have the stoner reactions. Like, that's it. Like, scary movies is fine. Scary games, if something pops up, it will kill me. Like, that's it. And it's bad in Bloodborne because you lose everything. But, like, yeah. And then after that, I'd be like, well, what other games? And, like, Yakuza was one of them because they're like, oh my God, you love, Gintama and, like, all these funny anime. You'd love Yakuza because I love games
Hmm.
that are serious but don't take themselves too seriously. That's also why I like Devil May Cry. It's
Mhm.
like they like we know that we're silly. They're the Fast and Furious of video games, and they just keep taking that up to the next level, and I love that. And so that's the reason why I got into Metal Gear Solid. And it's also the reason why I started playing Resident Evil 4 because I never played any of the Resident Evils. I just played Resident Evil 2 remake, and I hated it. It was
Oh
scary.
wow.
It was
Yeah,
terrifying. Yeah, don't
that's a
ever
scary one.
Yeah, it was the worst fucking stream ever. But I played the whole
Have
thing.
you played Resident Evil 7?
Nope, won't do it.
Okay.
I just won't. Everyone's like, "Are you gonna play Callisto Protocol?" I was like, "Nope, no, not at all." There's two types of games I'll never play. Anything in first person because it just makes me nauseous after a while, and anything that's horror. I just can't do.
Resident Evil 7 is the worst game for you then.
Yeah, I'm good. And they also made me play Alien Isolation, which is both of those games put together, the first
Damn.
person and
Yeah.
horror.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and like everyone would just figure out what games I liked and would give me recommendations. I'm like, oh my God, for the 20 something years I've been a gamer, I've never had this. I would just always
Mm.
seek out games and be like, I want to start this, I want to start this. And now I have people throwing shit at me that I'm like, oh my God, I have so many franchises to catch up on. I have so many things to play. And like, I feel like I just robbed myself from the last 20 years of my life not playing everything. But at the same time, like we talked about, you get those fans that are like, oh my God, someone who's never experienced this.
Yeah.
And she's so funny. Oh my God, funniest comedian in the world. Oh my God, hilarious woman. Yeah,
You did Earthbound and Mother, didn't you, recently?
I did. I
Yeah.
loved it. I loved Mother 3. I thought
That's another one of the games where it's like I really enjoy watching people go through these games.
it
Have
was
you done Chrono Trigger?
no. No. I have
You
I
should
plan
add that
to.
to the list of games that you want to play.
I have I mean like for me too, it's like I played it when I was younger, but like games don't would hit me way more now than they do when they're
Oh
younger.
yeah,
For
yeah.
me, it's like I'm very strong about like my sister. She has like this doesn't sound like a good transition, but it is. My sister has a 4-year-old, my niece. She wants to take her on an international trip next year, and I said, "Don't do it." Why? She's like, "It's not gonna fucking mean anything to her." When
Hmm.
you're young, things do not get
Yeah.
set in your brain. Like you just don't care. You're just like, this is experience I have, but you don't understand all the elements of that experience. That's the same with video games.
Yeah.
It's like I was such a huge Zelda fan growing up because Zelda was the first games that made me cry and like
Mm-hmm.
got me so and I'm still obsessed with them to this day. Like playing all these games doesn't take away my love from Zelda, but
Mm.
like all these games I played when I was younger, I was like would not hit me as hard when I was
Yeah.
12 as they would now. And Chrono Trigger is definitely one of those ones I would probably play eventually.
Yeah. A lot of like the narrative and thematic stuff that happens in video games, especially retro ones and or older ones, like they go over kids' heads. Like you're just doing battles and running around doing adventures. You don't really see. Well, the good games are written in a way where it's like, oh, there's way more meaning to this stuff than you might realize. And Chrono Trigger is definitely one of them. And Earthbound and Mother are definitely one. Like, there's no way a kid is understanding anything going on in Mother or Earthbound. Like when they're playing that as a youngster for the first time, it's just like battle stuff going on. But
So
yeah,
I was gonna say Mother 3 too is that I can see after playing it why it never got localized. Like I'm like, oh, this is some dark shit.
it's
Also,
dark, very yeah.
there's a whole part where they're on shrooms, which is one of the funniest scenes in the game because they go
Hmm.
into a hot spring and it's definitely like a sewer. But it's like, but yeah, it's like playing these games older. I'm like I'm glad I'm experiencing them now because I'm like I understand all the humor behind it. Like I'm sure you've seen, but I've been rewatching The Simpsons.
Hmm.
I'm on my second rewatch of The Simpsons this year. I rewatched seasons 1 through 10, and now I'm starting over
Nice.
and going back. And every time I start, I'm like, there's so many jokes that I missed when I was a kid
Yeah.
because I just didn't understand. And also, I have such a huge respect for voice actors now. I mean, like 90% of the characters are voiced by 3 people. So
Hmm.
it's like I am I'm absorbing it as someone who appreciates the art of voice acting, but also there's so many jokes and so many inside humor that I didn't understand when I was 5 years old. You know, like I
Mm.
was like, oh, I didn't know Smithers was gay. You know what I mean? Like it's like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
things like that, and it's just so wonderful. And that's what I tell a lot of my friends too, because I have so many people who are older. Like I shouldn't say older; they're our age. I don't know how old you are. I'm assuming we're around the same age. It sounds like we are. So, but it's like
I'm 35, so
yeah, we're the same thing,
yeah.
35, 33, whatever. Anyways,
Once you hit
we're
30, all the numbers are the same.
yeah, everything's the same at this point.
Yeah, every
But like,
5 years you get a debuff applied to you, and it just
I have,
stacks over years.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. And then one day you're just 60 years old.
Yep, there
You
it
just
is.
have arthritis and then their life is over. No, I have so many comedian friends that I started around the same time. They're all in their mid 30s and they're like, do you think it's too late for me to start streaming? And I'm like, no. Like, yeah, I make jokes about not wanting to stream my 50s, but like, I feel like the best people to watch on Twitch are people who are like-minded with you, people who've had lots of life experiences, because the way they absorb information, the way they experience it is going to be, it's going to have a much more richer experience than when you're
Mhm.
like a 19-year-old playing Mother is not going to be as, in depth with the emotional parts of the story as they did now,
No, not at all. Yeah, you're right. You're right. And yeah, I mean, like, if you ever get around to Chrono Trigger, I think you'll
I
appreciate
probably
it because
will.
of that. Yeah, it's good. Have you switching to anime? Um,
Yes,
have
we
you
can
ever
talk about anime.
have you ever seen Yakitate Japan?
No.
Oh, you should watch that.
Is that the
It's
one that I commented on your Twitter about?
maybe is
And
it
then I
would
was like, "What is this?" And you said it what
yeah
it was. And I was like, "I've never seen it."
yeah. So I the reason I'm bringing it up is because you talked about you liking funny anime, and it's a baking show anime built with its comedy and writing built entirely around puns, making puns.
What's it
And
called?
Yakitate, Japan.
Yake. Oh, got it.
Yakitate. Yeah, Japan. Yeah.
Wait,
So
when did
the
it come
whole
out?
it's
2004.
very old. Yeah, I mean like very old. It's like 2000
Yeah, don't make
eras.
me feel old.
I love this. One of my favorites. It's so it's so good. It's just about a kid. His name's Azuma Kazuma. His special power is he's got very warm hands, which means he is able to ferment bread faster than most other people. And
I already love it.
his whole thing is he's trying to convince Japan to adopt bread as their main breakfast food instead of rice.
What?
And
Okay, I already love it. I have it added on
yeah,
my list.
it's so good, and it starts off very very like straight, and the comedy is like top tier, and then eventually it realizes it can make puns and gets even better, and then it starts doing parodies with those puns. So like you'll see there's one episode where for some reason Detective Conan shows up for no reason, like he's just there, and they just made
Koyatsu's in it. Oh my god,
yep.
he's like one of my favorite voice actors
Yeah,
ever. Sorry.
there's a lot of like there's a lot of like iconic legendary voice actors
There's a ton
from
of Gintama voice actors in
yep,
this. Oh
that's
my
why yeah, there's a
god.
bunch of Gintama. Like the Gintama energy on this show is like off the chain. Like it's very
Anime,
similar.
I don't need more anime. I'm watching so much anime. I took a break from anime basically. I say break, but I was still watching it. But
Hmm.
I was consistently from like 2015 to like 2019. I was watching 6 to 10 seasonals.
Yeah, I had a period where I
Yeah.
was deeply depressed and I watched everything.
I mean, I'm still deeply depressed,
Everything.
but
I mean like but there was like if an anime existed, I tried it. Like I watched
yeah.
some have you ever seen Hikaru no Go?
No.
It's an
Wait. Yes,
entire
yes.
anime about
That's
Go,
yeah,
which
that's
is like
it's a shonen, isn't it?
yes, about
Yeah.
the game of Go, which is
Yeah,
like
I've never
I
played it
watched
though.
that. I watched what did I watch? I'm trying to remember there's one called Genshiken, which was about a bunch of weirdos who are in an anime club, and I don't even remember. Like I think
I
that
watched
show
some
is
dumb shit.
wildly problematic now.
I watch Upate, which is about a bunch of girls that become World War II guns, and then
Yes,
there's Samurai Flamenco, which is like my
I
go-to. Like,
remember.
I have no idea what the fuck this anime is about, but I'm intrigued, and I don't know if I like it. I can't tell if
Yep.
this is garbage or not. What was it? Star Driver, another one of those weird fucking. There was a year where it's like there was like one solid seasonal or like one solid series you're
Hmm.
waiting for, but in the meantime, you just watch whatever would pop up, and you'd be like, "What the fuck is this? I can't stop watching it."
Yeah, I got obsessed with Prince of Tennis for a really long time. Which is like bizarre, but I love that show for a really long time. And then I
I
was like,
got yeah.
I'm gonna start finding sports shows. So I watched like Buzzer Beater and Slam Dunk and not Inazuma. Like I can't remember what's the soccer
Mine
one called. I forgot the soccer one what it's
I
called.
rewatched what my first
Captain Tsubasa.
yeah, my first sports anime was Kuruko's No
Kuroko
Basket.
no Basket is good. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, "What the fuck is this show?" I
So
love it. Yeah.
my favorite sports anime is a boxing anime called Hajime no Ippo,
Oh yeah, I
and it
watched most
is
of it.
so,
It's just bromance. It's
it's
just
so
met
good.
guy. It's just guys being bros.
Yep, yep.
That's all it
I
is.
love that show. So it's like I think it's one of my top 10 animes of all time.
Are you watching Blue Lock right now?
I'm not. I just came out of a bunch of deadlines, so I'm like super behind on like I'm still I think I'm like 2 episodes
Don't. It's
behind on
fine.
Chainsaw Man.
It's okay. There's so many anime. I'm watching like 7 seasonals right here, and I'm like, I'm never gonna leave the house. Like my go-to anime nights are Mondays and Wednesdays, because Mondays I catch up on the weekend, Wednesdays I catch up on the Monday through Wednesday anime, and I have to write them
Mm.
down on my phone and schedule them in order for me to watch anime now. Otherwise, I'll forget. But now I really want to watch this bread hand
You should.
anime.
I hate to be that person, but I would move that to the top of your list
The top of my
very
list.
quickly. You can within like 3 episodes, you'll know whether you like it or like you
I
don't
mean,
care
I
about it.
probably will. I mean, Gintama's still my favorite. If I was managed to sit through, 60 episodes of character introductions, I'm pretty sure I can sit through 3 episodes. It says it's
It's
69 episodes.
yeah,
Nice.
it's nice. It's so good. There's a character in there that's modeled after Kenshiro from Hokuto no Ken, and like it's so funny. It's bizarre and amazing as an
What
anime.
Okay, so you have this one. What are some of your other favorite anime series? I'm
Um,
very curious now. I had some, yeah.
yeah, I mean, like shonen wise, like I watched the usual stuff. Like I watched Dragon Ball. I watched
I've never seen Dragon Ball in my life. Isn't that
it's
crazy?
I love Dragon Ball, but it's a very 90s anime where when you watch it in this day and age, you're like, Shonen has moved on from that in a massive way,
Oh
and I
yeah.
feel like even modern Dragon Ball, like the I think Super is feels very dated when you watch it. You have to have been there in when it was amazing to love it now, I think. It feels very kind of like vapid, if you're new to it now. Um, in terms of like shonen, like I feel like My Hero is a way better example of what shonen is now because it has that like emotional maturity and like more interesting storytelling going on with it. But I watched a bunch of Dragon Ball in my time.
I'm with
Obviously,
Sailor. I grew up on Sailor Moon and Cardcaptor Sakura.
Sakura, yeah.
Those are
I
mine.
love that. Yeah, I loved Cardcaptor Sakura as well, and
But I
so I
watched
watched
it
a
in
bunch of stuff.
English, so I didn't realize how
Oh,
censored it
interesting.
was. And I got back on Netflix, started rewatching it a little, and I was like, this seems like a completely different series.
Yeah, it does feel like that. So yeah, I watched that, and then like I had that period where I was like into the big ones like One Piece, Naruto, and Bleach, and I
Naruto. Sorry.
Naruto is like one of my favorites of all time. Bleach I stopped when Aizen came back for like the fifth time, and I was like, I'm done with this, man.
They
Like it's
censored the gay out of the anime 90s anime, but they also censored the incest. So, at least
Mhm,
that's a thing. Yeah, Naruto was my big three. I dropped Bleach. One Piece I watched probably 50% of the show, which is like 500 episodes.
mhm.
And I just need a break. And now I'm supposed to start reading it on stream at some point.
I saw that. I
I
saw that.
know.
People are never gonna let you forget that.
They won't. And I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck, I
If it
don't know
was
why.
any other anime or any other series, you probably could
I
have like
honestly would
punted
have
it.
I honestly would have started it if it wasn't for the fact that I've seen so much of it. Like if I was
Yeah.
starting it fresh from the beginning, but I'm basically gonna be reading parts that I've already seen, and that's the part I'm
Mm,
like, ugh, can I just
yeah.
start where I left off? And everyone's like, no. I'm like, well, you guys have to wait till
Uh,
fucking January then. All right, because yeah. No,
Full Metal Alchemist is one of my favorites of all time.
obviously,
Yeah,
everyone.
obviously, everyone loves it. But yeah, I think like I'm very obvious. Like I really like My Hero for a really long time. I'm like I
Did
haven't
you read
seen
the
the new stuff.
manga?
I did start, but then I stopped, and I was like, I realized that there's certain ones that I just with My Hero, I enjoyed the manga, but I feel like they do such a good job of using music to sell moments,
Oh yeah.
and
Yuki
like,
Hayashi. Oh, he's an
oh yeah,
incredible.
and like I feel like I was doing it a disservice by not having a more complete audio visual experience, so I stopped doing that.
So Yuki
Um,
Hayashi too, before he started writing anime music, he used to write music for the Olympics.
yeah, makes a lot
So
of sense.
yeah,
It's that
so like
uplifting kind of
like
like, yeah,
Haikyuu, like Run with the
yeah,
Wind.
yeah,
Yeah, that's why he's got like the best fucking soundtracks, is that he like knows how to
yeah.
get people going. Uh
I'm trying to remember some of like the weirder esoteric anime. Have you seen Beck?
yes.
Mongolian
Yes.
Chop Squad?
Yes.
That was one that
Mongolian.
I watched.
I wish I watched it in English though. I
I
watched it in
watched it in
Jap
Japanese,
I watched
yeah.
in Japanese. Everyone said you should watch in English. And I was like, maybe I need to go back and watch in English. But I
Yeah,
watched
that
Nana in English and I hated it. So I was like, maybe I'll
mm,
just keep it in Japanese.
yeah.
Hina Matsuri. Did you ever watch that one?
I watched a few episodes. I think I watched a little bit of that, but I didn't watch all of it.
How
There's a
Anna
bunch that I sampled that I never um finished, but I should go back to
There's a
some of those.
lot of great anime right
Yeah.
now. Like right now it's like we have obviously like Spy Family, everyone likes Blue Lock, Mob Psycho 100,
Yeah, Mob's
Chainsaw
amazing.
Man,
Yeah.
yeah, Golden Kamui, which no one's watching. I'm like, I can't believe how much people are like I watch all the big stuff, and to me, I thought that was a big series. It's a huge manga series in Japan, but the anime has just been like it's just it's just not received good advertisement promotion. It didn't have good animation adaptation, but I'm
Yeah.
like, it's still so good that I'm like, I can't get rid of it. I
I,
can't stop.
I'm gonna check Golden Kamuy. Is that what you call it?
Yeah,
Okay, I'll check that out.
it's so good. Yeah,
I
it
one that I really love from recently is Your Lie in April. Have you seen that?
yeah, that's one of the ones that I watched when I was like in my early 20s and it made me bawl my eyes out. And then I
Yeah.
rewatched it when I was older and I was like, this is corny as shit.
I have I there's I think what happened to me is I watched it at a time when it worked for me and it locked in the sentimentality where every time I watch it I'm not getting the feelings from the show. I'm remembering how I felt at the time when I first watched it.
Yeah.
And
That's
because
like
of
me with
that it just
Naruto though.
yeah, it works for me. I love Your Lie in April a lot.
Like
Um
Naruto for me was like during the entire like pain arc type thing was everyone's like, oh my god, blah, 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 makes me cry. But like I hate that my mind towards Naruto is like, why the fuck are we still spinning off the series and why hasn't it ended? The series ended the way it should have ended and it still
yeah.
keeps going. I hate that so much negativity towards it. It's gotten better now because 90% of Naruto I was obsessed with,
Yeah.
and it was a big part of my life. It was the whole reason why I got into anime to begin with.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm a fanatic for Rock Lee, so I
who did not
watched
get nearly enough the screen or
no
manga
deserved it.
time,
Yeah,
sadly.
I mean like he got his like Springtime of Youth spin-off, which was fine. It was fun, but like he's the main character of that series for me. And like I still watch his episodes like pretty much weekly. I will go back to it. I recently watched that whole Pain arc, rewatched it because there was like it was Naruto like 20th anniversary or something, and Crunchyroll hit me up and were like, "Do you want to do an interview about it?" I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." So I recently relived that whole thing, and it was really good. It was all
That's amazing.
yeah, it was all focused on like my whole like interview was about Jiraiya, who's like I think a fantastic character. Um, but yeah, and I've been so tempted. I'm hoping that they do like a full reanimation job on it because they keep doing like little scenes here or there. I'm just like, do it, go in. You'll make
Right?
so much money off of
For
it. It will be
real.
ridiculous.
I mean, you already know my, I guess, emotional anime is Run with the Wind. Did you
Yeah,
ever
yeah.
watch that one?
It's on my list. I'm gonna go to it.
It's
I
okay.
promise.
You're way busier than I am, probably. Like my schedule is so much more clear now. That's why I'm like, what do I do? I guess I'll start a new hobby instead of, going through all the things that I've been holding off for months, like reading One Piece on stream and all the animes people recommended me and getting new emotes, things like that. I would say like Run with the Wind and Banana Fish are the two animes that I'm like, anytime I watch them, I'm gonna cry.
Oh, I've been watching Kotaro Lives Alone. Have you seen that?
I watched the first two episodes. It's so cute.
It's so cute, and it starts off being so cute, and then it gets real heavy when
Yeah,
you start. Yeah, I
I
was
got
like,
the
oh my god, why?
I got the vibe in the second episode, and I was like, do I really need this in my life right now? Like,
Yeah, as you go along and you start to learn like why this kid is alone, like it goes from being like sweet to
really?
like
I see.
genuinely devastating. You're like, oh man.
That's my problem with a lot of like I had so many issues finishing Attack on Titan because I'm like I have to be in the mood to be traumatized, and I'm
I
not. Like I'm not in the mood to be sad right now, Like
I'm gonna catch some heat. I hate Attack on Titan.
it's okay. That's
I
totally fine.
I think Eren Yeager is one of the worst characters ever created. Like
I don't hate it, but I'm
in
not a
season
huge
I've
fan of.
only ever seen season 1.
Oh,
And the
that's okay
reason
then.
I hated it was because every episode he'd be like, I'm gonna kill these titans. These titans, I'm gonna be ruthless and I'm gonna destroy all of them. They kill him, I'm gonna kill him. And the very next scene it'll be him getting stepped on by a titan. And meanwhile, like Mikasa is just in the background, just destroying Titans left, right, and center. And I was like, I hate this main character so
You will
much.
hate
Like,
where the story goes. I'll tell you that. It
I
gets
just, yeah,
I,
and like the whole like basement mystery, like the string people along. I was like, no,
and
I'm
the
not doing
weird
this.
history. People will try to erase the
The
anti-Semitic
whole,
themes of it, but they're definitely in there. Like
and like
it's
the very Nazi structure of various
it.
groups in
Here's
that
the
thing.
thing. It's okay if you want to be a fan of that anime. It's fine, whatever. It's
Mhm.
fiction, but do not try to pretend that that shit doesn't exist. Like it's very blatantly obvious when you watch it. I don't
Yeah.
hate it. I think it's fine, but I do think it's like one of those series where it's like every episode I'm not gonna fucking tweet about it. I'm just like,
Have
oh,
you? Did you
another
watch?
episode.
Did you watch Carbonaria of the Iron Fortress?
Yes.
I
Which is
preferred.
basically
I preferred that.
I would say I prefer. I mean, I like the train aspect of it. I thought it was
Hmm.
cool. And that one girl in her, what was her name? Her name was like Mirai or something. I don't know. I didn't watch.
The muscle girl with the pink
Yeah,
hair who drives.
yeah.
Yes, what a legend!
I know. I
Like
was like,
I
this
was
shit is
like,
badass, but I hate that everyone's like, this is just Attack on Titan. I'm like, okay, every anime is just the anime.
well, it was the
Demon
team
Slayer.
that it was the
Yeah.
team that animated the first season of Attack on Titan. They were like, this sucks. We're gonna go make our own better version of this, and they went and made
Mhm.
Carbonaria of the Iron
Yeah.
Fortress,
I just
which
hate that's a flack that it got. It was just
yeah.
like, what the fuck do you think literally Jujutsu Kaisen and Demon Slayer are just remakes of every other fucking shonen, just with a
Yeah.
different set of powers. Like,
Hmm.
they're all the same thing. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that.
No, not
Like,
at
I
all.
watch, yeah.
I
It's
watched Jujutsu Kaisen when people were going absolutely insane about it, and I was like, "Yep, this is every anime
Yeah,
stuffed into one thing."
Gojo is just Tumblr Kakashi.
Yeah, he is Tumblr.
He's TikTok Kakashi. Sorry,
Yeah,
Tumblr's a little too
exactly.
old.
And the
That's
thing is, like, it's just literally he covers his eyes, whereas Kakashi covers his face. We never, when they revealed Kakashi's face, like it was like, "Oh, he's handsome. That's
oh, I
great."
was so pissed they did that though. They
Yeah,
did that. They didn't do that in the manga, and then they were like, "We're just gonna make an episode." I was like, "Don't fucking do that. You
yeah,
already
and they did
you."
the same with Gojo, where they showed off his eyes, and everyone was like, "Oh," and I was like, "Yeah, this is just Kakashi. This is
That was
just
part, but
Kakashi.
see,
That's
that
it."
was part of the plot.
Yeah,
Kakashi,
yeah,
they
yeah.
did the face reveal like way after the anime ended,
Yeah,
and
in
I was just
filler and
like,
stuff.
ugh, why? I
My
love the myth. Yeah,
the episode where they're like trying to get his mask off and he's just wearing more masks underneath, which is
yeah.
like I thought that was the best way to approach it.
Or
But
when they're
yeah.
trying to pull down the sheets on his bed. Oh my god, I love it.
Yeah.
Kakashi's still like my favorite. My favorite Naruto character was Minato. I loved Minato, but I
Hmm.
also love Kakashi because I just love the mystery around him. But I hate what they did to his character.
Hmm.
Because he came out and he
Yeah.
was like, I know 1,000, blah, blah, blah. And he's got the fucking Sharingan. At the end, he gets rid of both of them and he becomes
Yeah.
useless. And I'm like, this is the fucking. But that's Naruto. Naruto's entire second act was just like, let's just focus
Yeah.
on Naruto and Sasuke. And all these characters we introduce will just kind of be like brushed to the side and then Neji will randomly die.
Yeah. I think Sasuke is the worst part of Naruto. Like
Thank
every it's
you.
like the fixation on him is like so boring and so lame.
I think
Um
if I rewatched it, I might like Sasuke a little more than I originally do. But I was like, there's no development here.
when
Once
I originally when I did a rewatch sometime after my original watch, I came away feeling even worse about Sasuke because I was like,
really okay, never mind then.
he's one of those characters that is like just a white slice of bread, blank page, and everyone pours too much worth into him.
Well,
And
it's
like
like,
he
yeah.
really doesn't earn it at all. Like there are characters who like Neji is a better version of Sasuke. Like he's got the same kind of arrogance. He's a bit of a dickhead, but he has that like redemption arc.
Yeah, the
Whereas
best
Sasuke is
part,
like he's shit up until the very last episode where he's like, I guess we'll team up.
he's still shit though.
Yeah.
Then he leaves his
And then he
wife.
just pisses off for
Yeah,
ages.
leaves his wife and
It's-
kid. Like he's never good. And like I think for me the turning point of that was like I gave him so much hope and then he learns about Itachi and then it was just like, okay, I'm still going to continue and burn down the village because of what they did to my brother. I'm like, or you could like follow the footsteps and the whole reason why you followed your
Yeah.
brother to begin with. Like the story development, so many people argue back and forth and I'm just like, it doesn't matter to me because I
Yeah.
didn't like it and that's what honestly all opinions come down to. Like I don't know if you heard my hot take on not Resident Evil, Final Fantasy VII remake.
Go on.
I hated it.
Oh yeah?
I did not like it at all.
I
And
gave that game a 10 out of 10.
yeah, I didn't. I didn't play the original though.
Yeah, I
So
think
to
that a lot
preface
of it
that,
comes from that, yeah.
I did not, and I'm very, very open about that. Like people would be like, "Well, it's because you didn't play." Yeah, no shit. But as someone who didn't play, that's the reason why I'm playing the original Resident Evil 4 right now. So when I play the remake, I'm not gonna come out saying sounding like an ignorant person. I
Yeah.
didn't like Final Fantasy VII Remake because it just felt lifeless to me. The whole game felt lifeless to me. And everyone's like, "What do
Hmm.
you mean? Like this is such an amazing remake. Like they expanded so much of the game." Like that's the thing. It just felt like they were like, "Hey, how can we make money off this? Let's just make it 3 games." I was like, there's so many things in it. I was like, this doesn't feel emotional to me at all.
Hmm.
And like
That's
I also
interesting.
just don't like Cloud. Like I just don't like
Cloud is the least interesting character in
like
all
the
of Final
part
Fantasy
I would
VII.
like, and I felt bad because it's that thing where it's like you stream, so you have all these people who are fans of the series come in, they want you to like it. And I remember the part where, sorry, spoilers for two of them who hasn't played it, I don't care, where that one girl dies in, you know,
Hmm.
yeah. And he's holding her and he's like, "You still owe me a pizza." And I was like, "What the fuck was that line?" And everyone's like, "Oh, you don't get it?" And I was like, "No." And I'm pissed because I could have been sad at one point in this game. And now I'm pissed. I gotta walk up 55 flights of stairs. Like I was just like, I of course was so confused with the story. But yeah, like the best part of that game was Tifa and collecting the cats in the side
Tifa
quest.
is top tier. I wonder
Yeah.
if you might like Crisis Core. That remake's coming out soon. You might
I
be
think
into that.
maybe I should play originals first. I think that's what my mindset went to is
Final
like
Fantasy VII Original is like ooh, it's rough.
that's why I didn't. Everyone's like, you
Crisis
can.
Core. Crisis Core is the prequel, and it's like I think if you
You
want
could
to
have
like,
taken the elevator. You guys told me not to, so you're to blame for my bad review, okay?
Crisis Core is really interesting because it is, without spoiling too much, it's like a different take on Cloud as a character. Um, so you
Well, I
might
know he
find,
went, yeah, I know he went through some shit, but
yeah,
they don't
this is the
really
game
show,
where, yeah, that,
yeah,
that
they
you,
didn't showcase that much in 7 Remake. And so I was like, oh, he just seemed like this heartless guy, like, because he was a soldier and all of a sudden I was like, yeah, but there's a reason why he's like that. Okay, yeah, I've played tons of games where people are kind of shut off of their emotions.
Mhm.
Like, I played all of fucking Yakuza. Like, I know how these characters go, but this guy is just annoying and he has stupid
Yeah,
hair and
it
looks like
is.
a cat.
You are right in that fans put more they put more into those characters than people who have no context would. There is a reason for the way
Yeah.
Cloud is, and it is like explored in the original game way more and in Crisis Core as well, but they're kind of spreading it out across 3 games, which makes a lot of sense because it's a when that reveal happens in the original game, it is quite shocking, and you're like, I don't know if I buy that entirely. So, on the one hand, you are missing a critical part of the character. On the other hand, like they seem to be doing it in a way that will make it land a bit better. But Crisis Core is an interesting game where it's like you will get a massive chunk of context around Cloud as a character. Um, but yeah, it's also like it's a fun game as well, I think. But
I
I can completely understand why you might not like Final
A
Fantasy
lot of
VII
people
Remake.
tell me things like they always say like, "Oh, you should play this game, but it's a little outdated." It's like, dude, I grew up in the 90s. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
I'm completely fine. I mean, I played first Metal Gear Solid. It was fine. Yeah, obviously, I know controllers are janky, and sometimes
yeah.
like save points of boss fights don't make sense. But I love that.
I
I
think that
love
the
the
main thing about Final Fantasy VII, the original, is like it's one of the ugliest games you will play.
yeah.
Every time I replay, I'm
Everyone
like,
looks.
oh, what the?
Everyone just looks like a stick figure and they got like the weird ball hands. Like it's just like, yeah, I'm good. Like it's like I replay all my old Nintendo games all the time and I'm like, ugh, they still all look like this is the shit that I love. Like I love the jankiness and like games are also so much harder back then too because
Mm,
they didn't hold your hand too. Like it was really hard to like navigate things without a guide. So that's why like I'm a little more lenient on
yeah.
backseat gaming because it's like, yeah, like I don't have a guide with my controls and directions. I don't have a tutorial. Like they just drop you into games and say, "Good luck, bitch." This
Yeah,
little 7-year-old
I
go.
recently tried to replay Final Fantasy IX, which is one of my favorites, and I got like maybe 3 hours in, and I was like, I'm not built for this anymore. Like it's
Right?
ruthless. I was like, I gotta stop. This is brutal. Like as a kid, I'd be like, sit there and I'll just take that punishment. But now I'm just like, no, man, I got chores to do. I can feel
I
myself
tr-
aging. while I'm
Like it's
playing
like
this
I
game.
can't. There's no save point. Like where can I save? You know, like yeah, like I playing Dark Souls for the first time last year. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, it's super janky and all this stuff." And I was like, I loved how janky it
Oh
was
yeah,
and silly it
100%.
was. Like so many of the deaths were silly because like my character got clipped by something stupid. I'm like, "What happened?" And I just die.
Yep.
Shit like that is beautiful. Like you don't get that shit anymore.
Are
You
you gonna
know?
replay Dark Souls on Switch now that you have a Switch?
I actually did beat it on Switch and PS5.
Oh, okay, nice.
I
I
had
think.
a Switch, but my Switch I left on an airplane.
Okay, cool. I thought you'd not had a Switch ever, and I was like, this is very strange. I could have
Yeah,
sworn.
no,
But
I
okay.
definitely had like over 70 games on my Switch. When I went to go turn on my new Switch, it was like I went to go look at my cloud backup. I'm concerned that I can't get my save files, but just looked at how many games I had downloaded and it was like you have 73 games you bought to the shop. I was like, Jesus Christ. Like I didn't
Jeez.
realize I had 73 games on it. No wonder I had an SD card, but I just hope my saves backed up because I downloaded the games and then they were like, to download this game, you need to add an SD card. You have enough room now because you just fucking downloaded 60 games overnight.
Mm,
So I'm praying I can get at least like
a
my
few of them.
Stardew Valley farms back or something, you know, like or
Yeah,
my
your
Dark Souls.
Animal Crossing is gone for sure.
Yeah,
Like,
oh,
sadly.
that was the worst part is like I don't even care that my Switch was gone because I was already planning to get a new one. My old Switch was broken. Like
Right.
it only read like one Joy-Con. Like I had to take the Joy-Con out and play it. It was garbage. And my Pro controller was the only thing that really worked on it. And so whoever stole it, good luck. Have fun with that. I'm more pissed that I lost like 8 physical games in my case. I lost Animal Crossing, Metroid, uh, the new Metroid on
Dread.
there.
Yeah.
Metroid Dread. There's so many Metroids. And then
Mhm.
I lost like Breath of the Wild, Link's Awakening, and like Mario Odyssey, and I was like, fuck, like that's what I'm more pissed about because I'm like, all those
Yeah.
games together was more expensive than the Switch. And
Hey,
then
think of it this way: you get to replay them now.
yay! I
Please
still
be
have the
excited to replay
yeah,
Zelda again.
yeah, I actually beat Zelda originally on the Wii U. So, and that was like 300 hours, and I beat it again on the Switch, was like an additional 300 hours. So, can't wait to put another 300
Damn.
hours before. You think that's bad? The original Hyrule Warriors, I think I put about 600 hours in.
What?
I was obsessed with Hyrule Warriors. I did everything in the game, all the
Doesn't like
side.
the content run out after like 60?
No, because there's the DLC.
Ah, yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
and all
yeah.
the DLC was like the old map of Zelda, and every square of the map had a different challenge on it. I
Damn.
was crazy. It's like I'm pissed like Nintendo doesn't have trophies. I'm like, I would have platinum the shit out of that, but nope. Sorry. What
Wow.
are you playing right now?
So I just finished reviewing God of War, which was a
Incredible.
lot. It was a good game. Gave it a 9 out of 10. It's a very, very good game.
I probably won't
And
play it for like a month. I have too much going on.
I mean, like, yeah, it's fine. Like, you'll come to it. You might get spoiled. Just be careful about that. But it's a fantastic game. And then I'm playing a lot of Vampire Survivors as kind of like a palate cleanser.
Mhm.
But I have a few other games that I probably shouldn't say that. No, I can't mention. Some games that I'm not allowed to mention. But beyond that, I'm playing through Bayonetta 3, which is fun.
What are you streaming?
I'm currently I was streaming Cyberpunk, but I kind of took a break or hiatus from streaming for a couple of weeks to do some work stuff, and then I came back and I was like, I don't want to jump straight back into the intensity of Cyberpunk, so I played a bit of Marvel Snap, and that was pretty
Is
much
that
it.
like Pokemon Snap but with superheroes?
It's like Hearthstone with superheroes,
I know.
basically. Yeah. I play it and I'm like, yeah, it's fun. It's good. But yeah, I'm kind of like building my way back
What
up
are you
to.
buying? There you go.
So there's a game I'm playing on my
Yeah.
Steam Deck called Safe Room, one of those, and it's the inventory management system from Resident Evil 4 as an
Oh my
entire game.
God.
It's an entire game.
What?
Yeah, it's a puzzle game where you have the case on the left and on the right is the items, and you just have to move everything over and fit it in. And it is just straight up that section of the game turned into an entire puzzle game. It's really good. It's on PC. I think it costs like $5 or something.
That's
It's a lot
really
of
up my
fun.
out. That's literally the dream game for me.
I recommend it. I don't know
Have
how much
you've seen how clean my apartment is and all my
yeah.
photos? Like I am all about
The
organization
reason
and
the reason I love it is because I'm the exact same way. Like I get anxious around mess and things that aren't in place. So like I get a lot of satisfaction out of putting things in places
Do
that
you
in the
have
right places.
roommates?
I don't anymore. I used to, and my roommate was like, she would like, I would be like, I'm gonna wash all the dishes, I'm gonna clean everything. I would always be cleaning. But like my apartment is always like as clean as I can make it. So when people come over, they're like, "Why is your apartment so
Yeah, everyone's
clean?"
like, "Did you murder someone here?"
Yeah,
I
there
don't
was
have
a
roommates
period.
now, and it's like, yeah, it's the best thing
Yeah,
ever.
when I first moved over, it was to this country. I lived on the East Bay of San Francisco in a place called in Emeryville, and
Not enough cash.
I
Sorry.
had not enough cash.
Not enough cash. I can't tell if the
Um,
guy is like British or from Brooklyn. Like I can't
I
or
think he's British, so I can do a decent impression of him.
do
So
the
I
well,
think,
what are you buying?
what are you buying?
I love it.
Yeah, so I think he's British because of that. Like because I can do a decent impression of him, I'm assuming that he's British.
Just
So
because I can do it, he must be
yeah,
British.
he
Yeah,
has to be British.
or he's from
Um,
Boston.
yeah,
I don't
maybe.
know.
So when I moved into my apartment, like my thing was that was at a time when my like anxiety around mess
British
was so intense that I just didn't put things in my bedroom. So it was like a bed, an entertainment unit, my consoles, my TV, and nothing else.
Mine's the opposite. When I had roommates, everything was in my room and nothing was outside of it. So I'm like, this isn't my space.
I was, but I had to change when someone came around. I was like, "This looks like a murder room," and like a few years later,
Who has a
that's
better British accent?
a few years later, the liminal spaces started to become a thing, where like people were taking pictures of liminal spaces, and I looked at one and I realized that my bedroom was a liminal space for literally years, and I was like, "Oh God."
Look at Bison the Hero's comment. This is just like
Just
Jack.
like Jax. It's true, yeah. It's true,
Now
yeah.
I have too much stuff. Like I'm a minimalist, but I can't stop collecting nerdy shit. And I have to, and I'm like plants and nerdy shit. Now I'm like I can't have a roommate. They have to figure out where to put their stuff. Like
Yeah,
I don't know.
I got to the point where I have very limited things, and I have a rule where it's like if I'm adding something, I need to remove something to try and
Awesome.
keep a balance.
I do that.
Um,
Like I get rid of a lot
yeah,
of clothes, a lot of cookware.
yeah,
I haven't
yeah.
gotten rid of nerdy stuff yet. I probably will. Also, is that
I
Crow's Mac behind you?
That is, yeah. All my artwork in this room is mostly Crossmack stuff.
It's
At
just so
least
easy to
on
recognize.
this, yeah, on this wall. But I've got like other stuff. I've got like a Berserk Guts artwork here. I've got Blythe from Elden Ring up there. I've got various other
Yeah,
things
this room
around.
is like my man cave. It's like I have so much stuff on each side here.
Yeah.
I don't even have room for it. They're just sitting on the ground.
The
Cause
thing
my
I have
live
it, I keep buying artwork and then I like agonize over where to put it, and it ends up just hanging out. Like I've got a really nice framed Evangelion art piece of art behind me, and because of the shape of it, I'm just like not able to commit on where I want to put it.
I'm the
So I
same
was just
way.
like,
I got a
yeah,
massive Princess Diaries poster here that's like 30 inches long, and then I have like a
ah,
bunch of little prints over here, and now I'm too lazy to put up shelves, so I'm just like I just have art leaning on things. Like it was that was my addiction during the pandemic was I just bought so much art. That's how I found Crow's Mac and
yeah, yeah.
so many other artists. But it was just like I need a now I have a fucking 30-inch Virgil statue in my living room. I'm gonna have to strap that in if I ever move out. Like that thing, every person that comes over, because my living room is so like zen. You know,
Hmm.
it's just like it's very much
Got
like
like
this is what
plants and stuff, right?
yeah, this is what I want my brain to look like.
Yeah.
That's how I put it. I want my brain to look like my living room. Just plants and fuzzies and like comfortable laying spots and then a random statue of Virgil in the corner with a sword like this, like protecting the plants. Like it's just like this is my brain right here. Everything's fine until this one corner. And this
Yeah.
room is like my and I hate the term man cave, but like
Hmm.
that's I call it the
Yeah.
cave of shame. This is
That's what this room I'm in
the
is.
shame
Yeah.
cave.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is my shame. It's a closet that I've converted into a shame cave and an office. Like it's very, very small. There's no light in here, but almost all the like the nerdy shit is contained in this room.
The
Unless it's like
the incel den. That's what it is.
yeah.
No, incels don't have this good of taste,
Yeah, and
actually.
yeah. It's in this room, like my room smells okay. It smells good. It smells like it's a clean people walk in and out of it, so it's not an incel room. I feel like incels are stinky.
Yeah, my cats, they are used to me. Like, I'm too sensitive to smell. So I have two cats. I have three litter boxes. I clean them. I like watch them use the bathroom and then clean them.
Yeah,
I'm
I
like,
do
I
that.
don't even want to wait. This
I
is
had
going
no idea that
immediately.
people like clean their litter boxes every few days because I would clean it in the
Right?
morning and in the evening before I go to bed. I still do.
I have
I
one
started
person who
using I started using this thing called kitty litter. Have you heard of it? Pretty litter.
kitty
Sorry,
li-
pretty
pretty
litter. It's
litter.
called. Yeah, it's like this like litter which it when the cat does its business on there,
Oops.
it like poops or pees, like it changes color to tell you whether everything is okay. So like if it changes to a weird color, there's like a legend and you can be like, oh, this cat's got this kind of deficiency or like there's something wrong with it.
What?
It's really good. And also like it contains smells way better than most litter that I've ever used.
I
And
use
it's also like
cornmeal litter because
yeah,
it's like,
I
yeah.
used traditional litter, then I moved to Pretty Litter, and it's like on a subscription service, and I get a new batch every now and then, and it allows me to keep an eye on my cat's health as well. Like, this is not a sponsored thing, but like I do recommend it. It's very
Should
good.
be because my friend
Yeah,
has Pretty Litter sponsoring her podcast, and I hear it all the time. And I'm like, I'm not signing up for this bougie litter.
I did it, and it was worth it. It was worth it.
That's good to know because, like, ever since when I first got my cat, I had so many issues with his health, and now they're fine. But
Yeah,
I'm like I'm so anxious every time.
yeah.
Like, he'll just do like one scratch on the carpet. I'm like, "Are you gonna pee right there?" And he's like, "No, I'm just checking
I'm
it
just
out.
scratching it. Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just scratching. It's fine." Like, they have anxiety from me now. Like, when they use the bathroom, they like peek around the corner, like, "Is she watching? Is she watching?" Like, it is too funny. It's an yeah, like and like I only have one person watching my cat now because when I was traveling a lot this summer, I'd have different friends over and like I come home and be like, "You didn't check the litter box. You're only gone for 2 days." I'm like, I can smell that I was only gone for 2 days. Like,
Yeah,
it's not that bad. I'm like, "Ugh." Like
yeah.
I like like
Thankfully,
nope.
I have a few friends that I can trust to do it, and I also like taking care of other people's cats just because I'm like I enjoy like I will go to people's houses and be like I'm gonna take care of the shit out of this cat and then like clean the litter box every day and all this kind of business.
Oh yeah, I'll
So
brush them. I watched my
mhm.
boss's cat here for a month before she was moving here from LA, and I brushed her. I taught her how to groom her cat, and she was like, "Wow, you're like really good with cats." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm insane. Like this is I have had nothing but cats my whole I kids, you to ask me to change a diaper, it's gonna take a half hour. Cats, I'm like, yes, absolutely. Like it's I want a dog eventually, but like I think my OCD would that's just too much of a mess. So I'm
Yeah.
watching my sister's dog in like a month to see how I'll do. And if I hate it,
Mm.
then I won't get one. But I'm very much a cat person.
I am the same, and I think it's because cats are to a degree like predictable, and they build routines that are like my cats. Or every cat I've had three cats in my time, and every single time like they synchronize with me, and so at any point I know exactly what my cat is up to. Right now, I can tell you without even looking, she's sitting outside of that door waiting for me to
Mine
come
is
out so she can be fed.
right here, and the other one
Yeah.
is right in this corner because they follow me everywhere. I can't, there's not a room I'm alone in anymore. And it's like, it's fine.
Yeah. So
But
my one because of her like her original owner, she never learned to purr. She doesn't know how to purr.
what? So what does she do when she purrs?
Now she used to just not she used to just breathe very heavily, but recently she started to purr like very quietly. So like now I put my face on her to listen to her purr like a pillow. It's so cute. She didn't know how to meow for a really long time.
She just
So
screams.
no, she wouldn't be able to make the sound. She'd try and nothing would come out.
I
And
had a
like over time recently, I've started to hear the meows just starting to break through, and more recently, she's like starting to get half meows out. So like I keep an eye on her. Like I walk around and just try and make her meow and purr. So she's
I'm
like,
gonna have to take a video because when my cat meows, she sticks out her tongue. She's like,
oh, that is
like a
that is
goat.
cute.
And it is the weirdest thing ever, but that's how she like she's like a goat. Like it's just like a straight up goat. I love it. Well, we are at the we didn't even talk about Dark Souls and other anime. I also want to
No,
talk about Hunter x Hunter with you because I know you're a Hunter x Hunter fan, but
I
have
do
you been
like
reading
Hunter
the
x Hunter.
manga at all?
I
Then
haven't been. No, I kind of like stopped
my cat
when
just screams.
I stopped. I didn't read them. I watched the original Hunter x Hunter when it first came out,
Oh
and then
yeah.
I came to like the new one a little late. And I think I'm always just going to be an anime person for it.
That's okay. The
Yeah,
manga
I
is just
like.
so convoluted and all over the place because it's like we haven't written anything in 3 years.
Yep.
Do you remember where you left off? Like
I
something about being on a
no,
ship? I
absolutely
don't
not.
know.
Yeah, yeah. They jumped on the ship. Yeah, and
Yeah,
then
there you go.
yeah, yeah.
Well, anyways, I had a wonderful time hanging out with
So did
you.
I.
I'm
Yeah,
glad that we actually got to like sit down and hang out.
talk face to face. Yeah,
That's
to
what
a
90% of
degree.
the show is like. Here's people on the internet I've known and never got to hang out with because we don't live in the same state. Anyways, if you guys want to follow Tamoorh on stream, you should. Your twitch.tv
Yeah, I'm on
slash.
twitch.tv/TamoorH. I do weekly YouTube videos as well at the same, and I'm on
Yes, you
Twitter
have a
at the
YouTube
same.
channel.
Yeah, so I just do every Sunday. I try my best to put out some sort of video, just talking about something going on in the world.
I need to do
Um,
that.
it's fine. I feel like I shouldn't be trying to create more content. I should be trying to create less content. But I've got content brain, which is like if I'm not making content, I'm wasting my life. So um,
That's the grind set.
that's the grind set. Yeah.
But yeah, and also follow me as well if you guys aren't, which you probably all are because this is everyone from my stream. But we are now doing Lisa's Lair weekly instead of bi-weekly till the end of the year. So we'll have a new episode next Monday. Tam, thank you so much for joining. I'm
Thank
really
you for having
happy
me.
you took the time out of your busy schedule to hang out with me and everyone for a
Mhm.
couple hours,
I
and I really
appreciate it.
appreciate it.
I
So
thank you for having me, and also shout out to Evil Geniuses for
yeah,
having me.
and shout out to Elysian for providing me a beer
Hmm.
for today's episode. And yeah, that's it, guys. And have a good rest of your night, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.